died at the age of 89. Former Notre Dame coach Jerry Faust passed away at the age of 89. In the NBA, Cleveland is 12-0. It got 36 points from Donovan Mitchell and a win at Chicago, 119-113. Victories for San Antonio and Houston. Brooklyn won at New Orleans, 107-105. And Oklahoma City, now 9-2, beat the Clippers 134-128. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 45 points. Damian Lillard of Milwaukee is in concussion protocol. In the NHL's late game, Carolina now 11-3, got a win at Vegas 5-2. Dallas won 7-1 at Pittsburgh. I'm Steve DeSager.
1620 The Zone is giving away $25,000. To celebrate our 25th anniversary, we're giving you a chance to win $2,500 every week during the football season with a $25K four-quarter pick'em. Pick 10 games curated by us every week, straight up. And if your right picks were in first, the money is all yours. Pick on 1620thezone.com.
Come on, let's go!
Subscribe to our email for exclusive early access to get your picks in before anyone else. The 25K four-quarter pick'em. Powered by Dr. Justin Makovica with MD West One.
Thanks, Doc.
And Rib Shack.
Welcome to the Rib Shack.
And on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7.
Mostly sunny, breezy, and more mild for Tuesday. Southeast wind picks up in the morning, gusting 20 to 30 miles per hour most of the day. Expect afternoon highs in the mid to upper 50s. Rain chances go up overnight, mainly after midnight, and expect showers to linger through most of Wednesday. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Pyramid Roofing Time-Saving Traffic Center. Good morning. Hope your Tuesday is off to a great start today. Pretty quiet on the roads right now. No major delays from any accidents. There is a disabled vehicle reported on the right shoulder of the Dodge Expressway just before the 680 split. Not impacting traffic or causing any delays, just something to be aware of. As updates come in, I will get those to you. Just stay safe and wear that seatbelt. I'm Peter Krenzer. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Fernando's.
Taco about a deal. For a limited time, Fernando's has their famous taco basket with 3 tacos for only $10. Available all day, every day. Come get your Fernando's fix. Dine in only. Not valid with other offers. FernandosOmaha.com.
My journey began 30 plus years ago, starting in accounts receivable and working my way up to CEO. Today, I lead over 180 employee owners, each committed to delivering excellence. At Standard Heating and Air Conditioning, our service technicians don't work on quotas. They work on trust, ensuring your comfort comes first. We're proud to be locally and employee-owned with a culture built on honesty and integrity. Our commitment to the community remains strong through our apprenticeship program. It's just part of
the way we do the things we do. StandardAC.com.
Carrier, turn to the experts.
Car repair is car repair. Most places you go can change your oil or fix your brakes. The difference is the experience you'll get at Omaha Car Care. We're part of the community. We were born here, and we believe that our relationship with you should be built to last. We're going to consult you, not sell you. We're going to give you a free loaner car. We're going to treat you like a valued friend that we want to continue to see in the years to come. I'm Rick Betker, owner of Omaha Car Care, and we'll be along for the ride.
Velocity Clinical Research in Omaha conducts clinical trials for investigational treatments and research. Typical studies involve medications for high cholesterol, diabetes, infectious diseases, and acne. Some current studies include low T, RSV, fall influenza, pediatric obesity ages 12 to 17, adult obesity, and asthma. Velocity also performs vaccine studies. Studies are medically supervised and do not require insurance. Velocity recognizes your time is valuable, so they offer compensation for study-related time and travel. Find out more at velocityclinicaltrials.com.
I got a new feast made with 2 of my favorite things, pizza and dessert. Speaking of dessert, you'll want a piece of this. All the classic flavors of a cinnamon roll can be found in my new cinnamon roll streusel. Pair it with any of my specialty pizza pies piled high with quality toppings and mounds of mozzarella and your favorite one-topping pizza. Build your own feast with my cinnamon roll streusel. Order one today. Godfather's Pizza. Do it.
O'Reilly.
Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free and provides a report with solutions based on over 650 million vehicle scans verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we can recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Calling all college basketball fans to downtown Las Vegas. Join your team when they travel to Las Vegas this November as Circa Resort and Casino celebrates Hoops Giving. Circa has discounted rooms all week long for fans from Omaha. When your team isn't on the court, join us at Stadium Swim with temperature-controlled pools and a 143-foot screen showing all the action, plus the world's largest sportsbook, drinks giving, and more. To book and find out everything about Hoops Giving, go to circalasvegas.com/hoopsgiving.
Hi, I'm Mike Ham with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Week 10 came to a close Monday night in Los Angeles where the Dolphins held on to beat the Rams 23-15. Tua Tagovailoa threw for 207 yards and found Tyreek Hill for his only touchdown of the game. As the Dolphins snapped a 3-game slide to improve to 3-6 on the season. Staying in the AFC East, Bills head coach Sean McDermott has announced that Keon Coleman's wrist injury is going to force the wideout to miss the team's Week 11 matchup against the Chiefs. Over in the NFC, Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell, he told reporters that although Aaron Jones is day-to-day with the rib injury, the team feels optimistic that the star running back will play Sunday against the Titans. And some good news in Seattle. Head coach Mike Macdonald told reporters DK Metcalf expected to practice Wednesday after missing the Seahawks' last 2 games with a knee injury. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
All right, gentlemen, this is Emmett Smith on behalf of Depend, and I've got the perfect play. Run straight to your doctor's office for a life-changing catch. Because when prostate cancer is caught early, it's up to 99% treatable, and 1 blood test might be all it takes. And now through November, Depend is donating to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for select purchases. Talk about a great play.
From September 1st to November 30th, Depend is donating 40 cents to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for Depend Shield Guards Real Fit products purchased in the U.S. up to a maximum of $300,000 void in Mississippi.
Roofing, siding, and gutters. Make the right call with the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
1620 The Zone.
Obviously, we made the move with Dana last week. He will call the plays this week and serve as the offensive coordinator moving forward.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
You're cooking with gas.
Whoa. Should know that if you're going to cook with gas, you hire a guy that is an offensive coordinator, averages 42 points a game, to orchestrate an offense for the next 3 games that is not scoring 42 points a game. Good morning, everybody.
Never a dull moment.
You know what? Happy Tuesday, everybody. Nebraska football is not normal. That's okay.
No.
We've grown to embrace that around here, that there is not going to be anything normal about covering, following, cheering, being part of Nebraska football. Just when you think you have like a couple of days of like just nice, easy breezy, then you go whoopsie daisy. And yesterday, something happened that doesn't normally happen in the world of college football. Hiring a guy to call plays who the last time you took the field was not on your campus.
No.
And you are going into the final 3 games of the season. So Nebraska football is not normal. We've come to embrace that. We'd like to embrace normalcy, but you know what? I'm here for the roller coaster. I like riding roller coasters.
They're more fun.
Oh, they've made these last 3 games that much more interesting. All of that yesterday.
I thought it was already going to be interesting.
Oh, well, it was, but now it's that much more interesting because mean, I felt 2025, there was a good chance that was the direction they wanted to go. It sounded like that was probably that was getting him in the facility, be able to take a look at the offense. Again, the word consultant, and it sounded like that was maybe the idea for about 48 hours. And then it was like, hey, I can handle this.
See, I think there's no way. I think when he landed in Lincoln, he was the offensive coordinator. I don't think he came in and said, hey, Matt, I think when you don't get on a plane
You're probably
to come to Lincoln, Nebraska, if you were not already told you are going to be the OC.
Yeah. But was he told he'd be right away?
I don't think he met with Satterfield and said, I don't think that's the right call, Matt. What would you like to do?
Yeah.
Well, Dana, what would you like to do? I'd like to be the OC. Okay, you're the OC.
All right.
Yeah.
Whatever I can do to accommodate
Looks like we're
you.
done here.
I think to drop to be living in Houston, working a couple of days a week.
Right.
I think you don't get on that plane unless you are told that you are going to be calling.
But I would ask that question of, was it the understanding that he'd be the OC eventually for 2025 and this allow him to get a jump start, or you're coming in to be the OC right now?
Yeah, I think if he was not going to be the OC, he could have just stayed in Houston.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, because you could still study the personnel. It sounds like that's what Phil Snow has been doing and will continue to do a lot of that remotely. So yeah, you're probably right. You sit there and you can still get a jump start on what would most likely be your job in 2025 by not actually physically being in the building. It's just, this whole thing is wild.
Everybody works from home these days.
I know.
Some businesses are telling you to come back into the office.
Yeah, coaches are working from home now. That's great.
Imagine working from home. Like, I know people who have really nice offices, and I have friends that's now their business is they work from home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would go nuts.
Your wife, Nick?
My wife does it every day.
I don't know how she does it because, I mean, at least Reese is out of the house, so she can have some, time and she can focus on her job.
Mm-hmm.
But like when we were doing shows remotely for COVID, I went crazy.
Yeah.
It wasn't the virus. It was, I like being around people.
Yeah.
So,
He's the anti-me.
But I mean, Dana's got a nice house in Houston. He's chilling. Man, he's like, hey, watching some Nebraska film, watching some TCU film. I'm just being a ball coach, but my ass isn't on the line. I get that phone call from Matt Rule as he's walking off the field against UCLA at halftime.
Coach, here's your phone.
There was a text just said, you up?
You good?
I'm always up. Let's go.
You good?
You like a window or an aisle. But Nebraska football is not normal, and I think we've grown to embrace that.
OC?
Yes. All right. Welcome in, everybody. It is a Tuesday. It is the 12th of November. Coming up on the show, Sam McEwen's going to stop by at 7:30. I think Matt Rule and Sam McEwen are in a love fest.
He loves his questions.
I think they love each other.
Well, Sam he hits the right note because not only does he answer them very well, but it's a good question.
The power rankings of people that ask questions and get a response from the head coach at media. Has Sam surpassed Sip?
Ooh.
Yeah, and I think Sip he's plotted his questions in the correct spots too. So Sip is more quality than quantity. I would say Sam is too.
But I think it's all about where you sit. You got to be in the eyesight. The head coach is looking right at Sam. He's got to look over to his left to Sip. Sip sits way on the outside. You know what? People will tell you, like, if Sipple was a horse, like running in the Kentucky Derby, being on the outside is not good.
No.
But you're right there. Sam's got a good spot. He's like in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Eye contact.
So I think Sam is now, because it was Ross Jernstrom. That was the Helen Thomas of the media that gets asked the first question.
Yep.
And then Sip kind of weaved his way in there because Sip is quirky, and coaches that don't know Sip think, wow, what have I gotten myself into? And now I think it's Sam that's taking on. Sam's got a very distinguished look. He's a little, salt and pepper beard, hair.
Yep.
So Sam will join us coming up at 7:30. Brian Christopherson at 9, and then Andy Kindy at 9:45.
Number one in the question asking power ranking game. We should put out a list. I think there should be one
July
every
topic.
week.
Okay, so it's
there
Sam.
Should be a power ranking
this
every
is
week.
a topic now. There's Sam. There's Sip.
Sean gets one in there pretty early.
I'll tell you, Amy from the Journal-Star, she kind of hangs on the outside.
Yeah.
She picks and chooses her
yeah.
spots.
I feel like she used to be a little bit more proactive earlier on. Now you're right. She just kind of she picks her spots.
She sits in the front row, and it's like, when we were in school, like the girl that sits in the front row is really like the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
And they're
I wasn't
that
sitting there.
stealth person.
Yep.
Like they don't ask questions, they don't say much, but they're like really good.
Mm-hmm.
That might be her MO.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get the random photographer for a TV station that is sent there that has to ask a question.
Yeah, and you can usually tell which one it is.
Yeah, somebody's got to keep up the tradition of the late Ed Littler. That is the lineup brought to you by the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guy. We promise we will be better the 4 hours today than that bad Monday Night Football game last night.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Who would have thought that one of the best performances of Monday Night Football last night at the very quiet on TV SoFi Stadium was Drew Brees?
Yeah.
Drew Brees on the pregame, he looked night and day compared to when he was on NBC.
Yep.
I think he's more comfortable around fellow ballers.
Oh, yeah.
Like when he's around fellow players, because, on NBC, he was like nervous and you're like, what? Who are you? What are you talking about? Last night, I was really impressed.
He was
by
Jason Garrett at one point, too.
That'll do it to you.
Yeah, that's not
Ask
good for
any Dallas Cowboy.
Right. That's not good for anybody. That's why Tony Romo has tried to stay as far away from him as he possibly can.
It's all morphine to me.
Yeah, that was a bad football game last night.
Yes, it was.
All of a sudden, the Miami Dolphins are in second in the division with a record of 3-6.
I didn't know the Miami Dolphins could actually get to the quarterback.
Hey,
they really hadn't until last night.
Defensively, they were pretty good. Didn't allow a touchdown. It was nothing but field goals and then a weird field goal decision.
4 sacks last night.
But we will discuss. But welcome in, everybody. So yesterday in Lincoln, Matt Rule took the podium. We were all anticipating. By the way, you guys on the crossover.
Yeah, he said it. I think I lost count after 8. So you
guys are horrible bettors.
You took the over and you nailed
By the way,
it.
dogs did well against the spread this weekend in the NFL. Really good. If you are into that world, if you like that world, if you like to dabble in that world, the dogs did pretty well this past weekend. They were 11-3 against the spread week 10.
Yeah, Patriots did. They covered.
Yeah.
The largest point spread for the Bears that they were favored by.
That's okay.
They lost by 16.
That's okay. You already knew that you had a leadership void. You didn't need to be reminded by a 19-3
take your stuff
game.
worse than mine.
It's bad.
I don't feel a thing.
You'll be fine.
Eberflus went on the morning show in Chicago yesterday and just doesn't really know what's going on. Everything as they were speaking on the interview, he said that they were evaluating. So as he was talking to the guys, he was still evaluating Shane Waldron and the play calling and the whole operation. The guy just never stops thinking. That's why there's such a good organ. Okay, never mind.
That guy was doomed from the start. He was Marcus Satterfield of the NFL. But yesterday in Lincoln, people, this is okay. We need to discuss not only the decision, because there's a lot of things as part of what Nebraska football did yesterday, and I'm going to put it under the umbrella of Nebraska football because this is a Nebraska football discussion of making a move that in the past would not happen with former head coaches. They just wouldn't.
No.
Nebraska football is in a different spot. Got to get to a bowl game. Got to get some momentum going. I mean, there's a lot of people's livelihoods that rely on that. But what I saw yesterday is a decision that was made by the head coach who did a smart and right move for, again, Nebraska football. But what I also saw is a guy that admitted fault.
Yep.
We always wonder, like, is Brian Kelly ever going to get humbled by a loss to Alabama? There's not a shot. There is a better shot of me going to church on more than Christmas and Easter. Okay? You wonder, okay, are people going to be humbled? I don't know. Maybe I'm on the wrong path here, just my observation. But I think when Matt Rule, who Sat's one of his guys. So essentially Rule, since coming to Lincoln, has lost 2 guys out of his circle. His 2 most important guys, Coop and Sat, gone. So he has to make that decision. It's the smart and right move. But to me, he had one of those moments yesterday that he's very good with transparency, but he admitted fault in the hiring because I think Satterfield was set up to fail from no previous history that it would work here. Sorry, I accidentally hit that.
You gonged yourself.
I did. I'm going to be pulled off the stage. But he admitted fault. He had one of those moments where you could kind of feel like, oh man, he was stressed out about this.
Yeah.
And maybe part of him goes, don't know if this is going to work, but I made the smart and right move for Nebraska football.
Yeah. I think on two fronts too is when he said, I think it was Sean who asked the question about.
Oh, yeah, put him in the
he's
the
in
power
there.
rankings.
Yeah, he's in there.
Is he behind Sip?
He would have home court in the first round.
Yeah, he's behind Sip.
This is a
yeah.
fantastic discussion.
It is the power rankings. Well, I think we should ask Sam if he would agree with that.
Radio guys suck. We don't have anybody that asks questions in those things.
If they're there, they're just
Schmitty, ask a question
I know.
next time.
Schmitty's there all the time.
Yeah.
You get a good meal?
Oh, you do.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, you do typically. Well, if you like Valentino's.
I don't think they do anymore.
I'm pretty sure they do. Because one of the emails said on the was the previous bye week that they mentioned there would be availability that Monday, but they would not be serving lunch.
We are so soft as media people. We are.
That it actually has to be in the email of just heads up, there will not be lunch served today.
Oh, I'm not going.
So I wonder if like Sip and the gang, they had like a sack lunch.
Bring your own?
Yeah.
A little igloo playmate?
Yeah. Oh, maybe like a potluck. Like a little media potluck.
No. Sorry.
It'd been a bunch
Who
of
brought
things.
the jerky?
It would be a bunch of things purchased from
Sorry.
Hy-Vee. It would. It'd just be people bringing cookies and stuff from Hy-Vee. The part about yesterday, okay, two fronts. One, when Sean asked the question and he said, Matt Rule said, I think it's probably a little unique. You think? Yeah, that's a little unique. Yeah, you do not see an offensive coordinator that had no connection to this staff whatsoever at all during the season. Usually, if an OC, as we all know, OC or DC is fired, you elevate someone that's within the staff to, hold the ship down until you have a chance to get to that offseason, then you make those decisions. So it is very unique. That doesn't mean it's unique because it will never work. I just think that there's a comfortability that these coaches have with their staff that if they're going to dismiss one person, well, it's just natural. Someone that's been with them, someone that's very familiar with the personnel and personnel's familiar with them, that's going to make more sense. But this, I think, sent out a major signal to not only the players, but to everybody who supports this football program that Matt Rule is taking it very serious, is trying to do everything he can, not for just the future, but for this year, to salvage this season, to get them to a bowl game. And he feels this is the right call and this is the right thing to do. The second part of it, and I know this was discussed during Matt Rule's press conference, this is also the accountability factor to the players too. Look, I'm doing my job. I'm putting us, at least in my best judgment, putting us in a position to where we can perform, we can get fresh eyes on this, we can pare this thing down, and we can start tapping into what really can work with the current personnel we have. Now it's time for y'all to start holding up your end of the bargain too.
So there's a couple of things here. Let me ask this, because we don't need to talk anymore about the current offense, right? 96th in total offense, 101st in rushing offense, 99th in scoring offense. Mm-hmm. I don't know if people know this, but there are not 500 teams that play college football, okay, that are in these rankings. Mm-hmm. There are 134 that are ranked. Just that's the bottom line.
Yeah. And
we knew that Holgerson was in town. We knew that 3 games are on the docket. Maybe this is my observation, but I'm going to ask you guys, is we knew that there was going to be something different going on. I don't know if people thought Rule would actually do this because of his connection with Satterfield, but what was your reaction to the reaction of fans? Because it wasn't overwhelming. I think there's some trepidation about, there's some risk here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. I like to engage because I have questions as well, but I think it was smart and needed for the quarterback at Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
But what was your kind of read on some of the reaction? I know Odson put out a tweet of, I guess people are calling into Happer's show and we're bitching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
okay. 96th in total offense, 101st in rushing offense, 99th in scoring offense. They aren't reinventing the wheel. They are not changing all of the verbiage.
Right.
They may have a guy calling plays on Saturday that does not know some of the players' names, but he knows their numbers.
Yeah.
But the reaction was kind of interesting to me. Not saying it's right or wrong, but I don't know. What was your read on some of the reaction?
First of all, a lot of the feedback that I think even started last week. So I want to, before I answer that completely directly there, going back to last week when you knew Holgorsen was going to be a part of this offense to some capacity. I thought it was crazy because there were people, there were fans and friends of mine that love this program that I engage with that were asking me the question, well, do you think he's going to take over play calling? And I thought that was absurd at first. I'm like, come on, you can't expect that to be the case. You can't expect him to come in and all of a sudden just have a complete handle of this offense and what's going to work. And so then we fast forward to yesterday, and that turns out to be the case. Not only is he going to be calling the plays, but he's now the OC. He's now the guy. So after that initial shock of, okay, we're doing this and we're doing this within the quick timetable, this is pretty interesting because I was in the mindset, and I think maybe you knew more about this than I did. I felt this is your new OC for 2025 for sure. This guy is going to be the offensive coordinator in 2025. He's going to get a head start on that. So in I guess in a roundabout way, he is. I mean, he is getting a head start on it. He's just getting the title now. He's getting a chance to really dive into this offense and to, like I'm sure we'll continue to talk about, be able to identify certain things, make things a little bit more simplified, but then there's that aggressiveness that we can get into later. So going back to the fan reaction yesterday, I think there were a lot of people that felt the way I did a week ago of, well, how can you do this in such a short period of time? But this is where I'll give Matt Rule a lot of credit. He knew he was going to, the majority, what did that thing go yesterday, about 30 minutes?
Yes.
He knew that.
Interrupted my nap.
Well, 25 of those minutes were all about this. 5 minutes were about Lincoln Riley and USC.
Looked like a head coach that was stressed out, by
He
the
did,
way.
100%.
But he admitted fault. He admitted fault.
A lot of,
it's not easy to do.
A lot of, there was a lot of that yesterday. A lot of.
I mean, he has a personal side. Remember.
Yes, that's not easy. You're right.
He's had in 4 months 2 guys that are in his main circle of trust fall out.
But so my reaction to that type of reaction, the reaction of, well, how the heck can you expect this guy to come in such a short time and not only be able to call the plays, but also be the offensive coordinator for 3 games, 3 very important games too. I thought it was talked about in a way that this just had to happen. This is something that I think this is where I do think Matt Rule is a very smart a savvy football guy. And just because this is not a normal occurrence for a team that decides to move on from a coordinator, that you bring in someone from the outside with 3 games left, doesn't mean it can't work. And I think there are unusual circumstances to where this situation can work. I think Nebraska's in that unusual circumstance right now. So to me, again, my reaction would be, how much worse could it be? Really, what do you have to lose at this point offensively? Now, there is, and I know it was brought up by Sam, and I want to ask him about this too, because I want to get his opinion on this. I brought this up on Thursday or Friday. I was really fascinated, and I think I mentioned it yesterday. I was really fascinated to know what the overall read of the players would be. Of you're in a bye week, and all of a sudden, especially on the offensive side, you haven't been living up to the expectation that is needed, and then all of a sudden they're bringing in a brand new guy, and maybe I'm crazy on this. I can see that actually being a positive for them. I can see them thinking, okay, all right, you know who the guy is. You know what he's been able to do. I think it'd be kind of exciting, to be honest with you, because there's no way, even regardless of the lack of execution from those individuals, that what Dana Holgorsen represents, and just as an offensive mind, I'm not even talking about the air raid, but just an offensive mind, that guy comes in, starts talking, he starts getting to know you and starts being able to talk some ball with you and the things that you do. To me, I don't understand how that couldn't be exciting for that group. So I think I was I was more of the fan reaction a week ago of like, no, you're crazy. They're not going to do that. To yesterday, I'm like, oh, you know what? This is bold, but I kind of like it. That's where I am. And this is what this team needs.
So it's what the program needs. I'm with you. It's what the program needs because you know what? Before you can run, you got to learn how to walk, and you got to learn how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And for Nebraska football, this was an uncomfortable decision, but not for Matt Rule because this is the second time he's done this. Now you're looking at me like I got 3 heads.
That would just complete the week on Tuesday.
December 6th, 2021. Carolina Panther head coach Matt Rule said Monday that firing offensive coordinator Joe Brady midseason came from a desire to jumpstart a struggling offense. Now, he did not hire an OC that was like down at South Padre on the beach to come in, but he has done this before. Yeah, there's some risk in this. There's some risk down the road. But you know what? And people are like, wow, this is really, the timing is odd. With 3 games to go, the timing is odd.
It is on the surface,
The timing is odd.
Because he's like, we got to get to a bowl game.
So why now?
Gotta do it.
Why would you do it now? Desperation, urgency.
Yeah.
I say smart and right move. What if somebody else says you had to do it because of DR15? Do not. They have to fix Dylan Raiola.
Yep.
They have to keep Dylan Raiola happy because if Dylan Raiola is not happy and he does not progress and they get him back to where he can do what everybody expects him to do and things go south, you would never recover from Dylan Raiola leaving your program before his eligibility is up. You would never recover. Okay? But it's also the smart move. That's why I say it's the smart move because he is your guy at quarterback, okay?
He's your future.
He makes the world, well, I'm not going to go that far. You have to consult with him. You know, I'm sure this did not blindside him that, hey, you want to go to the airport today? We got to pick up a guy. I mean, that only seems right.
Right.
That only seems right. So as things are struggling and your quarterback is 1 touchdown, 6 interceptions, last 4 games, you got to get him right before the end of the year, right? Because you can't have him have 7 bad games, and he might not even play this weekend.
Right.
I mean, that's something to really consider. Is Holgorsen can come in his first game calling plays, isn't with the guy that, by the way, they love each other.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact. There are 2 guys talking ball, y'all.
Simpatico.
Okay, so they are DR15 and the man that is shot up with Red Bull.
It's delicious.
And it may change the casual quarterback. I'm just telling you, look out for that. But you can't have your quarterback having 7 bad games and then trying to recruit to that.
Yes.
Or have him in a whole offseason. You got to get him right.
Yep.
Okay, you got to get him back wheeling and dealing and looking like the Dylan that we expect because the program can't move forward completely without him being exactly what you were getting when you got the commitment from him about a year ago.
Yeah, and Matt Rule said this is a move for these next 3 games and not for the future, which, yes, but it is also for the future.
He said a lot of things yesterday that you went, yeah, right.
Exactly. This is a move for the future. And immediately I think about, okay, if I am either A, in the transfer portal or I'm in the 2026 class and I'm thinking about Nebraska and I'm really, really considering them, I'm watching that offense currently and I'm thinking, wait, what? Why would I want to be a part of that offense that they have zero identity? I'm not convinced that they would know how to use me. They can draw up a plan on how they would like to use me in an ideal situation, but I'm watching this with my own eyes. This doesn't look good. Now, all of a sudden, you bring in a guy like Dana Holgorsen, and not only he's eventually going to do it, but you get 3 games. And again, they're not going to air raid. Okay, this isn't all of a sudden a transformation overnight of what their offensive concepts were and what they're going to be. But you get a chance to see what Dana Holgorsen can do with the current offensive personnel. So there's the context there of, and just wait till he starts getting his guys in too. And then, like you just mentioned too, you get a bounce back from Dylan Raiola to where he is progressing, not regressing for the last 3 games. So not only there's that recruiting element, but also the Dana Holgorsen impact, the Dana Holgorsen offensive mind. And wow, so you got this defense. It's been pretty good, a little inconsistent. We'll get to that. But you got this defense. Now you've got this offense and a head coach that wasted no time, identified the problem, and said, I'm not even going to wait till the offseason. We're going to do this now, and we're going to start implementing those concepts now with the group that we have, especially what I would think would benefit a lot of the younger players on that side of the football. It's hard not to think of one of the great players that he coached at West Virginia and Tavon Austin and think of Ja'Cory Barney. I mean, so there are things that you can connect and be like, look at what he did at West Virginia. Look what he did at Houston. Look at those offenses. But yet they can run the ball. Might look a little bit different and maybe not as heavy personnel. But again, there's an offensive identity that comes with Dana Holgorsen. You can't look at this offense right now with Nebraska and say, hey, there's an offensive identity that I want to be a part of.
Nebraska does have an identity on offense. Yes, they do.
And what would that be?
They have the identity of their former offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Now, what's the identity of Dana Holgorsen, his personality? I have always believed that the personality and what your head coach stands for matches your team, vice versa.
Yeah.
Nebraska does have an identity on offense. It matches their offensive coordinator. Very cash, not a lot of risk taken, a little bit of a... Now they got a guy who's a wheeler and a dealer, and I would say he's a dog. I mean, you can't be somebody that wears a chain that's got your name on it as a football coach, and you're not a dog, okay? And you got a wild personality that is out there, and you're wheeling and dealing, and man, you want to score points, and you want to be bam, 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 bam. Might be exactly what Nebraska needs, because I think they have more bam, 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 bam guys on offense than they have the good point. So Nebraska does have an identity. Nebraska does have an identity on offense. Now they have a new identity, because if you think I'm crazy, because you guys are looking at me like I'm crazy. That's
I just thought you were crazy when you said the identity of that Nebraska offense has an identity.
Oh, no, I'm just thinking about Dana's chain with his name on it, because that's a flex.
Big picture Nebraska football, does the identity of Matt Rule, does the program match the head coach's personality, or is the head coach personality now matching his team?
I think it's starting to, and I think it has to, but I think it's starting to match his team, because I think that move yesterday is an example of that.
I will listen, and I will keep that on the board. But there's one thing that I think bugs Rule about this current football team that does not match his personality. What is one thing through kind of the ups and downs of being 10-11 in your first 21 games? It's been a long time since Nebraska played. I'm still right on that math, right?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is
below 5.
Matt Rule is pretty consistent. His football team is not consistent.
Yeah.
If that was how I led my life and my coaching life, and my football team did not match that.
Yeah, and that drives me crazy.
I'd be uncomfortable. I'd be hitting curbs when I went around the corner.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about it too much.
Yeah, and that drives them crazy.
So I've always looked at that with coaches that I've been with or have observed. What they stand for, what is their DNA, usually is what their team's DNA is. And it doesn't have to be a head coach. It can be a coordinator. It can be a position coach.
Yeah, and clearly, out of everything that has frustrated him this year, obviously the losses here as of late, but that inconsistency. When he mentioned the text from Gary Sharp that said, "Hey, must be tough having it. It must have it." He said it was a friend that he just that he now knows since he got to Nebraska. But when he saw that text and it said it must be tough having a team that's that inconsistent, and that really got to him. And I believe it did. Yeah. I truly believe it did. I don't think that was something that he was just throwing out there for the media just to sell you on how upset he is. I think what you just said right there's your example of it too. I think you can say whatever you want to about the team and maybe a certain individual here or a player here, but it's that overall, and this goes to the defense too. It's that inconsistency that I think drives him crazy. And you're watching a guy talk about this decision that, yes, is not common at all of what he did yesterday. There's nothing that is, oh yeah, I so-and-so just did that a week ago. He's going against the grain on this one. doesn't mean it's the wrong thing to do. Doesn't mean it hasn't been done because it doesn't work. No, it's just there's a comfort and a familiarity when you have your own staffs that you just elevate in those moments. He has a familiarity, and from what you heard yesterday, he has probably more comfort than a lot of us even realized a week ago with Dana Holgerson. But as he's talking about this the entire time, you could tell he understands the risks that are involved. But more than anything, he seems like a guy who is very pissed off about how the season has gone. Yeah. And I think that move that he made is, again, to send another message of, I wanted two things in that. I think this will work. Personally, he said that many times. He's confident in that. I don't think he would have doubled down and tripled down on that. But also, like he did on Monday, there's no more excuses when it comes to the players and everything. We did our part. We're trying to help you out with a personnel change. You got to help us out too.
Saving the season.
Put himself out there. I mean, good, bold move.
Very bold.
Nebraska has been so, I don't want to upset the apple cart. You know what? Look at this. Yesterday, they started to say, F that. I want to play some big boy football. We haven't been to a bowl game since 2016. We still get eyeballs, but we're not in the top 25. But we have resources. We have cash. Let's play big boy football. That's what they did yesterday. It could go down in a flaming pile of something that shows up on your doorstep and kids knock on your door and they run. Or it could turn out to be one of those moments where you reach the fork in the road of what you're doing at Nebraska and you choose the right path. And somebody helps you that is not you. I don't know. That's
people are going to be watching Saturday. People are going to be watching, football fans everywhere.
I don't know why people wouldn't watch the last 3 games, period.
Yeah.
Well, here, yes. But in general, you want to see Dana.
Do you guys not have withdrawal this weekend? No football, no Nebraska football?
I did.
You're like, what are we going to complain about?
The weather's been good.
Well, we have. Never mind. I'm not going to.
All right. We're off and running on a Tuesday.
Never a dull moment.
I got lots to discuss. There is more to the decision. And by the way, Nebraska's playing a football game this weekend against the #1 net punting team in America.
Oh.
Ed Foley, the day is coming.
Yeah, why was there no conversation on Ed yesterday? Okay. For a different press conference.
It's a long week.
I thought maybe it'd be Tony White and Ed today.
It's no media availability until Thursday with Matt Rule.
Gamesmanship.
Yeah. They don't want none of that stuff. They do not want that.
You're gonna throw Dana right out there. Fire away, guys.
Like,
Dana would be just fine.
They're asking about Harburg to be 10? So
I want to know,
they're doing by numbers.
Is the tape back on?
No.
They don't have the tape?
But they're doing it by numbers.
Okay.
All right. Off and running on a Tuesday. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley at 1620 The Zone. Happy Tuesday, everybody. TC writes into the Equitable Bank inbox. Gary at 1620thezone.com.
Oh, and Handley at 1620thezone.com.
Equitable Bank, where they take banking personally. I've not heard the old man Doug's take on Dana Holgerson joining the staff. But TC writes in, what season is this? Aren't we at the tail end of football season? Yeah, that's sad.
It is sad.
Great. Now I'm sad again.
You're processing this, aren't you?
Yeah.
It'll be okay.
So it's going to be the holidays and all the
You
crap.
got another basketball road trip coming up.
Thanks, Nick. Thought baseball was. I'm not opposed to the road trips. We're going to Las Vegas.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
There's worse places to go in November.
Akron next weekend.
I've been to them. Yes.
I thought baseball.
Don't you guys play on a Sunday too?
Oh, we play Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Awesome. Good stuff. You'll be home before you know it.
Not really. I thought baseball was over. Nebraska is bringing in the DH.
Dana Holgerson. I get it. Hey, see, that works on two fronts there.
Heard something crazy yesterday, among other things. And not to steal any of your thunder, Jimmy, you might have this in update. You guys know that when tough decision in the Big East offices to select Ryan Kalkbrenner as the Big East Player of the Week, that was the first time he's won that award?
Yeah.
Hasn't he won like 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards?
Right. Yeah,
but he's never won.
Weekly.
Wow.
It is
Not now, never.
It is.
What is up with that?
I have a feeling he'll win a few more this year. Weekly awards, that is. Yeah.
Also, a quick reminder that this is the final week of the 4-quarter pick'em for your chance to win our money.
So look at us rallying, Gary.
Hey,
we were dead last to start.
I am 4 games behind, and I'm closing in.
I'm 1 game behind you.
Nick Grimm once leading, now in the basement.
Yeah, Grimm is second to last. Odson last.
Do we have a punishment for the host or producer that finishes last in the 4-quarter pick'em? I mean, we give our great listeners that win $2,500. The only disappointment when we give them $2,500 is we need the big check. Okay, we're actually giving them a real check.
Yeah, we need a big check.
I did notice one of the people that won, they did not follow the instructions, so they did not cover up the checking account.
Oh, no.
Quick, write it down.
They were zooming in, screenshotting that thing. Oh, no.
Why don't we have the big check? We need to give people the big check.
We do need a big check.
But this is your last week to win $2,500, so go to our website, 1620thezone.com. I think there should be a punishment for the person that finishes last, and we should let our listeners, especially the ones that have won, come up with the punishment for the person that finishes last.
Okay, I like that because, I mean, I very well could lose.
You should be okay, Nick, I think.
Well, Odson is at 55.
Oh, yeah.
Grimm's at 56. I'm at 57. Happer's at 57. You're at 58. Jimmy's at 60. Yeah, there's no way I'm going to win. But I could
Not
definitely
with that
finish.
attitude.
I could definitely finish last. You guys would all have to go like 3 and 7, and I'd have to have a perfect 10 of 10.
I think Nick Grimm went 3 and 7 this week.
Yeah, he took a nosedive. Yeah, I like that. I like that idea. I think we should do that, and fully knowing that I could possibly have to suffer that punishment.
What about the winner? Does the winner get anything?
No, because I won. Didn't you win last year?
I did.
I won the year before. We got nothing.
We got nothing.
Nothing.
I won the March Madness pool, and I got a Yeti
Extra
cooler.
$50 of health care.
So now we have $50 of health care.
We might have a Yeti cooler hanging around. I can check for you. That's what I won.
Peanut brittle.
All right, this is the last week, so
You know
make
what?
sure you take care
Studio
of
of Winners here. Yeah, all right.
Winners
Studio
win.
Winners. There we go.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Let's go.
We'd all be winners. As we got Sam McEwen coming up at 7:30, so we'll dive back into
He's a winner.
USC week. This would be really, really nice right now. I would imagine that if college basketball was normal, because today's kind of like, to me, the start of the college basketball season, because the Champions Classic's going on in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Frankie Fiddler and the Michigan State Spartans take on Zeke Mayo and the Kansas Jayhawks. It is a showcase of guys that have played in the Summit League.
Well, the Summit League sent out a tweet wishing them luck.
Summit League barely covers their own conference.
Do you think they know that 2 of their standout players from a year ago are going to be showcased in the Champions Classic tonight? Do you think they even know that?
I don't think you promote that.
No.
But
we develop winners.
Kansas, Michigan State, and then Duke and Kentucky play. So this is kind of like the unofficial kickoff to the college basketball season a week in. But you know what would be really nice right now? Close your eyes and just imagine this. Wow, you guys follow directions really well. I thought you'd be like,
Still early.
F off, Sharp.
Still early. My eyes might not come back open.
Yeah, I can't take that chance.
I could be doing Omaha, Cal State, Bakersfield at Baxter Arena right now on ESPN for the 6 a.m. game where all of the students are dressed in pajamas.
Yeah.
And when Omaha hits a 3, they throw cereal in the air.
Yes.
I'm with you.
The 24-hour tip-off marathon that used to exist, this is the day that it would happen. It would start at midnight and go all the way to midnight. And in between, they would drop in the college football rankings.
Yep.
I
would watch.
Hey, you know what? And in this state where they could do 3 Division I teams, like within 45 minutes of each other.
A nice arenas, good followings.
So Omaha could play like the unique 6 a.m. game.
Yep.
You're used to being up. No big deal.
Yep. Then, Nebraska maybe has a nooner.
We would do the show
people
live from
People like
Baxter, by the
nooners
way.
in the rail yard, I'm told.
Yeah.
And then
college.
They got great specials. Mellow mushroom.
Oh.
Just had a business close in the rail yard I noticed the other day.
25?
Yeah. No.
Wasn't Longwell's,
hey,
was it?
Hey, I believe so.
Oh, it was?
I don't want to. I have to go back on that.
Yeah, don't just start willy-nilly closing places.
But look that up. Google that.
Right.
Hey, if Gate 25 ever closes, the stories that they will have to tell.
There needs to be a book
when that
on
place
that one.
closes and it starts talking, you'll be like, huh? Wait a minute, I already knew that. But then you could have like Creighton could play. You could get a marquee game against Creighton like at 8:00 because Creighton loves playing the 8:00 games. I missed the 24-hour marathon of college basketball hoops on the platforms of ESPN. But unfortunately, I got to show McAfee and Stephen A. Smith's show, so that would knock it off.
Oh, Longwell's was sold to now the corner. The corner.
Corner?
The corner.
Corner?
Yeah.
Corner as in
not the corner.
As in corn
the
or
corn.
corner?
The corn part is in caps.
Like who
ER.
came in and announced the cause of death to a main
Not the
character
corner.
on Yellowstone?
Not a corner.
Oh, okay.
The corner bar, but it emphasizes corn.
Okay.
They're now taking over Longwell's.
Okay.
So
all right.
that's
So it didn't
public.
close.
Yeah.
I like Longwell's.
Changed.
You know what? Longwell's has you can tell that Longwell's is a good place because my sneakers stick to the floor.
Very much so.
Sticky floor is always a winner.
They always got a lot on tap too, and a very good, very hearty Bloody Mary. It's got a lot of food in it. Got sliders and cheese sticks in it.
I had one of those in Lake Okoboji once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't just have a Bloody Mary without like
in the Bloody Mary.
Yeah, it's got the long toothpick that has the slider and then the mozzarella stick.
Jesus,
I believe that. Well, of course, there's a pickle.
Why ruin the food by putting it in a god-awful Bloody Mary?
Gary, have you ever dipped a mozzarella stick into a Bloody Mary? Change your life.
I'll opt.
You ever snorted cocaine and rode a motorcycle out of a plane? Seems like the same thing.
Only in college.
Wow,
Lawrence is a wild place.
Thing. That's quite the leap there.
There are some things that I very much dislike. Bloody Marys are no. I'm
Really?
out.
Okay.
I'm out.
Okay. If you don't like a Bloody Mary, then
a fat kid in dodgeball, I'm
that's
out
fine.
on the Bloody Mary.
That's fine.
Respect.
If
I
you
used to
don't
be out
like
on
it,
it too.
then this conversation and add-ons is not for
You are
you.
a much better drinker than I am. Like your
Oh,
palate,
thanks.
you can dabble.
I do.
Like I'm just, you know what? It opens with a
Oh yeah.
or it comes in a brown paper sack. You are more like the finger.
No,
Yeah, you're
I'm
very
not a
bougie.
fancy drinker.
Yeah, I think you could be.
I don't drink
I think you could be fancy.
I don't drink martinis.
I think you
No
could be
espresso
also
martini?
fancy and blue collar. You're very
okay.
versatile.
Oh, okay.
Sounds like a country
Actually,
song.
I now take that as a compliment. So thank you.
You're an amoeba.
Adaptable.
Well, we have hit the bingo card of words that have been said in the first hour. Finish up this first hour with an email from Zach, the Lego Maniac. I don't know that Holgorsen calling plays will change anything in terms of record for the last 3 games, but I think it is a positive because at the very least, it's proof that Rule is willing to shake things up when he thinks it needs to be done, instead of just being loyal to friends at all costs. Boy. Advice for the next Nebraska coach down the road.
Don't bring
your friends. Just hire people you have no idea who they are.
Yep.
Now we will see if it leads to wins in 2025. I am skeptical of the OC choice, though. If Nebraska starts running an air raid offense in the Big Ten, Rule might not outlast Dillon at Nebraska. Wouldn't that be a fun show? The same people in the media that will spin Nebraska running the raid offense were the same that were skeptical of Wisconsin going that direction.
Actually, I was excited about the direction Wisconsin was going with Phil Longo. I thought that was a future Big Ten move not a Big Ten West move, but a Big Ten. We need to be in the Oregon and USC and the Ohio State echelon of what we're going to try to do with playmakers. I liked it.
I'm not related to Vince Lombardi, but I can tell you that running college football 25, I could run the air raid. It's all about the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. Give me a good offensive line. I can do whatever the hell I want.
All about the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
If I have an exceptional offensive line, I can do a lot of different things. Just ask Carson Beck of Georgia. Georgia's offensive line, there's a disconnect there.
Mm-hmm.
Throws the whole offense off.
I 100% agree. Run whatever the hell you want to run.
Jimmy's got an update coming up next. Sam McEwen at 7:30 right here on Mornings with Sharp and Handley. 1620 The Zone.
Nebraska and Creighton volleyball both held steady, number 2 and number 5 respectively in the latest poll. No surprise there. For the 7th straight week, the Huskers, who received 12 first-place votes, remained one spot behind number 1 Pitt. There were shakeups in the rest of the top 5 after Penn State was swept by Wisconsin last week. Rounding out the top 5, number 3, Louisville, Penn State, and then Creighton. It's pretty good. Lexi Rodriguez, also good, was named Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week on Monday, earning her 7th career weekly defensive honor and 2nd of the season. The 2-time Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year average just under 4.2 digs per set last week to help the Huskers to another pair of great defensive performances and road sweeps at Oregon and Washington. And in doing so, she passed Kayla Banworth for 2nd all-time at Nebraska in career digs. Now with 17:31 in baseball, Shohei Ohtani, shocker finalist for the first National League MVP award. It'd be his first. After twice winning the AL honor, he is joined among the top 3 in NL voting by Mets shortstop Frank Lindor and Diamondback second baseman Ketel Marte. Aaron Judge is a finalist for the second AL MVP in 3 seasons, joined by Royal shortstop Bob and Yankees outfielder Juan Soto. In basketball, Victor Wembanyama produced his 12th career 30-point game. About time you start doing something. And his first this season, and leading your San Antonio Spurs to a 116-96 win over most hated rival Sacramento on Monday. Not really. Wemby registered 34 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 blocks in his 82nd career NBA game to become the 6th player in league history to rack up 1,700-plus points, 800-plus rebounds, 300-plus assists over his first 82 contests. Wilt Chamberlain could do that in a game. He joined Oscar Robertson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Sidney Wicks, of course, Larry Bird, and Blake Griffin in the feed. One of those guys doesn't belong. The SEC has fined Ole Miss $350,000 and LSU $250,000 for incidents involving fans near Saturday's home games against Georgia and Alabama. Ole Miss incurred $250,000 fine for the second offense of the league's policy, prohibiting fans from entering the field. I'm sure they all thought about that. The school received an additional $100,000 fine because the Rebels fans entered the field with 16 seconds left in Saturday's win against the Dogs. The field was eventually cleared before another storming, which resulted in fans carrying one of the goalposts right out of Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. Ole Miss's first violation of the SEC's policy against field storming occurred following last year's win against LSU. Let the kids have fun. The $350,000 fine will go to Georgia, hopefully to get them some driver's ed classes for the entire team in accordance with SEC policy for violations in conference game. If Ole Miss incurs a third offense for field or court rushing, it will be subject to a $500,000 fine and be relegated to one of the other leagues. Finally, after Sunday's loss dropped the Cowboys to 3-6, pass rusher Micah Parsons, who's actually good, was asked what he would tell people wondering whether Mike McCarthy would be head coach in 2025. So I wanted to know what he had to say. He said, "That's above my pay grade." He makes a lot of money. If Mike's coach again next year, all coaching aside, Mike can leave and go where he wants to. Guys I kind of feel bad for, guys like Zach Martin and guys who might be on their last year on their way out, because that's who I wanted to hold the trophy for. You want to win games and do great things with those type of legends who put in more time and work than Mike McCarthy ever did. So those are the kind of guys that I have so much sympathy and hurt for. But hey, Jerry's going to build a new stadium supposedly, so with curtains and everything.
He doesn't need to build a new one. Just put some curtains on there. CeeDee Lamb wants to.
Hey, did you see
protect your investment?
Did you see then when Jerry had his media availability, they blocked the sun?
Yeah.
But then when Mike McCarthy spoke yesterday, there was sun coming through the media room.
Oh man, that's just going to be an ongoing thing the rest of the season. Giddy up, Dallas fans.
Teletubbies with the baby in the sun.
Well, someone asked a really good question about his whole rage about, we'll just tear the damn thing down and build a new one. Someone said, well, maybe you should build a new one and this time do it the right way so the sun doesn't impact end to end.
I don't know.
Which is a fair
I don't know. They used to,
or just quit and build an actual winning team.
They used to have a hole in the roof so God could watch the Cowboys play.
Watch his favorite team.
Now they don't open the roof. Coincidence?
The fact that they don't do that does, God also gave up on the Dallas Cowboys?
I have. Don't blame him.
Why don't you tweet that out and put
that's a good poll question.
Hashtag Methodist, hashtag Baptist, hashtag Catholics.
First Baptist, of course.
Well, thank the good Lord.
So today is a big day in the NBA. Are you guys excited?
No.
You guys really excited? Come on now.
No, but I am excited for college basketball tonight.
The in-season NBA Cup begins tonight. Clay goes back to Golden State.
Yeah. And
ugly courts
it'll
return.
culminate in December in Vegas, and then we'll have a banner, right?
Yes.
Utah
so
and Detroit.
It starts now.
You guys
remember, and then it wraps up in December.
Do you guys remember who won the first one?
The Lakers.
Your Los Angeles Lakers.
They do have a banner for this, by the way. That's true.
We are in the participation trophy era.
Yeah.
So you should get
it's just ribbon. Don't they have to, and the courts will look different too, right?
Yes.
So they'll have the special courts, so you'll know it's an actual game for the.
Kind of hard for me to disagree with Walter here.
It's just so weird because
Get excited.
You'll play
Cleveland's 12-0. Spida.
They are, yes.
Spida is dealing.
Yeah.
SGA last night.
45. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
One of the worst trades ever in the NBA is that Paul George for a bunch of picks and SGA to Oklahoma City.
So now Embiid's
George
suspension
no
is
lifted.
Clippers. So is it the Sixers that will break the Cavs streak? Because will Embiid even be playing in that game?
No. I like so to win their like pools or whatever they call them. Like I like Cleveland to win the whole NBA Cup, but I like Golden State and I also like Detroit. But Clay goes back to Golden State tonight.
He'll get a good.
What was more impressive in Clay's Golden State career? scoring 37 and a quarter or 60 in a game.
37 and a quarter.
Yeah.
That is unreal.
George Gervin once did 33. Not many people did stuff like that. So.
37 in 1 quarter of play is just insane.
Finished it with an ice cold glass of milk.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he'll get a huge welcome back.
What was the other game that he had
bigger in Oakland?
He scored 40 plus and only was it the 60-point game where he only dribbled 6 times?
Yeah.
Oh. So don't tell me that you're not getting excited for the NBA Cup.
I just
sold
dribbling.
it.
It's just so weird because you play one game, that's part of the cup, and then you play your regularly scheduled game, and then you play another one that's,
That's why you got to follow along.
It's really weird.
Get a schedule.
All
go
you
to
do,
NBA.com.
All you do is you turn on the game, and if the court looks weird, then you know you're watching one of those games. That's how you know.
Also, shout out Latrell Jr. Latrell Wrightsell Jr. Last night for Alabama had 5 threes. Alabama beat McNeese State.
Yeah, beat Wade. Will. After who the hell did McNeese just lose to?
South Dakota State.
That's right.
People told me that South Dakota State cheated.
Oh,
I'm not sure about that. I don't want to make allegations about the Jacks.
How'd they cheat?
I don't know. They usually do. That's the story around the Summer League.
When someone told you didn't even know context, you're like, it sounds about right.
What team do you think cheated in the Summer League? South Dakota State?
Probably. Yeah, probably South Dakota State.
I don't know that for a fact. Don't hold me to that. Matter of fact, anything I say today, don't hold me to it.
Yeah.
There is something, though, we have to embrace. Are you guys ready to do this about college basketball in the Big East?
Okay.
When I was a young boy, I used to get WGN. My parents would splurge. We'd get the extra channel so I could watch my Cubs games. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched Tom Skilling at 9. I got to know Dan Rohn. He was a sportscaster. I wanted to work at WGN.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked in the mirror and I said, "Man, you got a face for radio, son." I actually said that to myself, so I admitted fault. But DePaul basketball was like the thing.
Yeah. Ray
and
Meyer,
they carried all the games. Tom Kleinschmidt. I wanted to meet Tom Kleinschmidt.
Yeah.
I'm pulling that one way.
Yeah.
But I remember him.
That's pretty good.
So DePaul is now 3-0.
Yeah, they are.
They were dunking the basketball in a game against Mercer last night. And I'm like, who are these guys? By the way, Chris Holtman, super nice guy. Okay, did not work out at Ohio State.
But I think he's still a good coach.
Super nice guy. They're hitting threes. DePaul is 3-0. Do we want to live in a world where DePaul basketball is good?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
1979, 1980.
Big market. Chicago's got a college basketball team. They all can get behind. Maybe there'll be billboards saying
Mark Aguirre.
Chicago's college basketball team.
Great for the Big East.
Mm-hmm. Northwestern will get pissed off.
I know. I think the Big East has like some really, really good teams and some really, really bad teams.
Yeah.
But I like Chris Holtman. Good guy. They're 3-0.
We'll see DePaul more on Fox than we will on CBS Sports. That'd be great.
You're getting ahead of yourself.
They'll be on the Peacock.
Or that, yeah.
And then
it's kind of the in-between.
And then Joel Klatt will tweet out why the DePaul is being subject to the Peacock. We will get into his tweets yesterday defending Big Noon. I do want to mention, in terms of college football, a little bit of a lighter note. Yesterday, God, we lost 2 guys that when you're our age and you started watching college football, these 2 guys were on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
So John Robinson passed away.
Yeah.
Jerry Faust passed away. Both were 89 years old.
Yep.
Now, remember, Nebraska football is not normal. There is an odd quirk that Nebraska seems to play a team that has had a legend in their program pass away before Nebraska plays them.
Oh, no. Somebody protect Barry.
Yeah.
Protect.
So, you remember Penn State?
Yep.
Didn't before... couple years before when Nebraska played Illinois, Dick Butkus passed away?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So,
I did.
So John Robinson, who is a USC legend, Rams legend, one of the great people in college football.
One of the most successful coaches in Southern California, period.
And if you ever had a chance to interview him, he was great. But he had the mutton chops with the white hair. And he was college football wearing the polyester pants for USC, and he was on the West Coast. I mean, you're right. He was Southern Cal football.
Yep.
He passed away at the age of 89. Nebraska plays at USC this weekend. Then Jerry Faust, who was one of the crazier hires from Moeller High School to Akron to Notre Dame, all of that, oh my God, Notre Dame hired a high school coach. But Jerry Faust, who at, what was it, 82, he got Notre Dame to number 1.
Yep.
And, back then, Notre Dame was everything. You love Notre Dame or you hated Notre Dame. And here was
Alabama.
And here was Jerry Faust coaching Notre Dame. And, he was on TV all the time on the limited stations that you got. But I will say this about him, because after his Notre Dame career, I did get a chance to interview him as well. He loved Notre Dame. Like, that was his dream job growing up, was to be the head coach at Notre Dame. He wanted to win so bad at Notre Dame. He just didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
But it's like, do we have that nowadays? Like, do young people that grow up and want to be coaches, and they're in high school and they're thinking, man, someday I want to be on the sidelines of blank. Do you ever hear anybody talk about, man, I want to be the Fort Calhoun head coach? It's like, I want to be the head coach of Nebraska. Like, Jerry Faust was that guy. All he wanted to do was be the head coach of Notre Dame, and he got to be the head coach of Notre Dame. It's just one of those days where they both passed away and they were both 89 years old, and they both had an impact on college football. And I would imagine the USC football family, because John Robinson was USC football, the heydays of USC football. There will be something on Saturday at the Coliseum.
Yeah, that will be a big tribute to him. And I think so many people that are in that stadium, both from Nebraska side of it and obviously USC side of it, will have some type of at least lasting memory of John Robinson. This is kind of, for both of the coaches that we just speak of right there, I have weird lasting images that I remember from a football standpoint. Now, John Robinson, I remember talking about Lawrence Phillips. Because remember, been talking about Lawrence Phillips, and that was his second go around with the Rams, right? I think John Robinson's, or no, I guess he did USC twice. So this was
Chuck
he was
Knox
still,
had 2 stints with the Rams.
Okay, yeah. So he had the 2 stints with USC, but I remember him talking about the impact of Lawrence Phillips, type of running back he was. And this is going to be the weird one with Jerry Faust. Is Jerry Faust and Jimmy Johnson are always going to be connected, and not for a good reason, because that was the big.
They were just playing hard.
Yeah, that was the big humiliating Jerry Faust on his very last season as the Notre Dame head football coach. It was like 50-something to whatever, and everybody was up in arms about how Jimmy Johnson and that Miami team could run up the score. But Jerry Faust was actually, he was really humbled by it. He didn't cry foul or anything. Everybody else was doing it for him. But for whatever reason, I always remembered the Jerry Faust, like, how could you do that to Jerry Faust? How could you do that? And Jimmy Johnson's like, I wasn't going to call the dogs off. Like Notre Dame's been doing this to teams for years, and we're just playing ball, man. And I just remember how people were just up in arms about that. Just hated it. Oh my God, this is awful. But yeah, the John Robinson, his overall impact, I think, just on Southern Cal football, both from a professional and collegiate standpoint, I think that alone makes him just a legend. That's going to be quite the scene on Saturday.
Look at like post John Robinson, USC got Pete Carroll, but look at like Notre Dame post era and Dan Devine, because Jerry Faust had it. Oh, by the way, you got to take over for Dan Devine, who went 53-16-1. Then they went Faust. They went to Lou Holtz.
Yep.
So Holtz got him a national championship. And then you went Bob Davie. George O'Leary showed up for a day. Then you had Tyrone Willingham. You had Charlie Weiss, BK, and now Marcus Freeman.
Do people forget about the George O'Leary quick stint?
Every time I apply for a job, I don't.
The resume.
Good point. Sam McEwen's coming up here in about 15 minutes. Random Mike, stay right there. We got to take a quick break. We'll come back. It's mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. Speaking of Creighton women's basketball, they won last night against Drake over at Sokol. Lauren Jensen.
Hate the Drake!
She was playing Papa Shot, had 32 points. Well, she 12 of 16 from the floor, hit 6 threes, beat Drake by 8.
I like that. Just playing Papa Shot.
That's what I call it. That's my new
thing.
Someone's hot.
Someone's on a heater. I like that.
No, instead of a heat check, you should go, a Papa Shot.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
All right, that's a very random thing, and that leads us into Mike. Hello, Mike. How you doing?
Do you remember what John Robinson said about Mike Riley when Riley was the coach here?
I bet it was positive. I don't remember.
It was real. It was real positive.
Yeah.
It had to do with, in fact, he talked to Robinson said basically, when I die and go to the next world, I hope I see Mike Riley there because then I'll know I'm in heaven.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Something
because
like that. You know,
I don't recall that specifically, but
Mike's still here, by the way.
But Mike Riley was John Robinson's OC in the early 90s, correct?
Yep. Yeah, and you know the Tom Brady connection there?
Between John Robinson, Mike Riley, and Tom Brady?
Yeah.
I do not know that threesome.
Mike Riley?
No, what is it?
Yeah, they were recruiting Brady
okay.
out of San Francisco.
Gotcha.
And Mike Riley had the relationship with Brady, and then Riley was told, no, they're going to be going after a more mobile quarterback.
Oh, gotcha.
And he flew back to San Francisco, made a flight just to tell the Brady family in person that they weren't going to recruit him anymore. And to this day, they appreciated that, and they love Mike Riley just for doing that.
Yeah, there's a ton of respect for Coach Riley in the business. That's a good story. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, as a person. But you were talking about recruiting good friends. Osborne did not initially fire Callahan. He told him, you're going to have to get rid of your defensive coordinator, his good friend, and he wouldn't do it. But hey, desperate times call for desperate measures. I mean, this is a good thing. I mean, you agree with that. I mean, having
it's a smart and right hire because they can't go into the offseason trying to attract players with an offense that looks this poor. And I also think, Mike, it's costing colleges too much to fire their head coaches. So they're going to spend money on offensive and defensive coordinators, and the market could be very active this offseason. So this is a strike to get ahead of the curve to try and lock down Holgorsen. That's just my observation.
Yeah, and maybe lock down Dylan Raiola. I mean, Gary.
Yeah. I mean, that everything's in play.
Cardinal rule in baseball, if you're a pitcher, if it's hit to the right side, you run to first base. Cardinal rule in
Garrett
football.
Cole.
Yeah. And let me tell you.
Soon? No.
Garrett Cole was a cold-blooded killer. I mean, he was fantastic in that game. He didn't do that, but he thought Rizzo would make the play. And we know Rizzo is a fantastic first baseman. He was playing with 2 broken bones or whatever. But cardinal rule in football, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're a quarterback, you got a wide-open guy for a sure touchdown, don't overthrow him. Fair statement?
Yeah, I would say that's fair, yeah.
And Dylan Raiola, I think we all love him. We know how talented he is. He did that 3 times this year. I mean, were you guys shocked when he did that in the Illinois game? I mean, I was.
You know what? I was more recently with some of the overthrows, not as much, but then because he really was having a good game and he had a really solid start to the season up to that point. So that was one of those misfires where I think we were all in the agreement of, oh, there's your freshman mistake, but he'll be fine. But yeah, that was
totally agree, Nick. That's totally right. I mean, he was fantastic. What a great start he had. We know how talented he is. But the regression, and then the Ohio State game, he does that twice. And if he just does it once, we win the freaking game. But okay, offense, defense, special teams. Our special teams, we have no return game, none. Is that important? Well, maybe in a close game, that's the difference between winning and losing. Caleb Benning, maybe. Does he have a chance? He's a great return guy. You think maybe we see him doing that?
I would not be opposed to it, but Mike, I don't know. If you're gonna make a move like that, and Caleb would be your choice, you actually have to return punts. And I don't know what their philosophy is, because right now it is basically a fair catch.
Yep. Don't lose any yards.
I mean, this is the crazy thing about Nebraska's punt return game is the guy that is returning punts. No offense to IGC, but he's a wide receiver, and he doesn't have a shot of hitting the field as a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
So he's only on the roster to be a punt return guy.
Yeah, boy, he's got great hands. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I mean they haven't fumbled, but look at Indiana. Did you watch the Indiana-Michigan game, Mike?
Yes, I did.
So fourth quarter, Indiana's offense was struggling a little bit. They needed a spark. They got a late punt return on a bad punt by Michigan, a low 31-yarder that was easily to be returned, and it basically sealed the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to have that, but Nebraska just doesn't have that element. I mean, Nebraska plays with an arm and a half tied behind their back most days. It's crazy.
I was thinking exactly the same thing. And tell me this, Jalen Lloyd, you think maybe we'll see a little more of him?
I would think that if my personal opinion, yeah, because I think Dana Holgorsen is identifying what they think works and certain personnel within the offense that are going to help them have bigger plays, more productive plays. Personally, I think Jalen Lloyd is one of those guys that helps them.
Totally agree. And if for some reason Dylan can't play much for the next few games, who's our next best guy? And I'm thinking, is it maybe Gramstead? Maybe they're noticing that. No.
Oh, no. Oh, you mean like if Dylan's not able to go Saturday, who's starting?
Well, yeah, I know who's starting, but let's say he can't go for a couple of games, and we want our next best quarterback in there, I think Gramstead might be the guy. I mean, I have no idea.
No,
he's a gamer.
Hold on, Mike. Ahead of Harburg?
Look, I know he's not ahead of Harburg now, but if it's a situation where we're not going to have Dylan for the next couple of games, and we want our next best guy, I have no idea who it is, but I know Gramstead's a gamer, and he's really good.
I would say it would go Harburg, then Danny Kalen before you get to Gramstead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll probably be that way, but you wonder who really is our next best guy.
Harburg.
Yeah.
I would stick with that. Mike, thanks for the phone call. Now, that's a real possibility that Dylan doesn't play this weekend. I think that's...
He didn't seem... he seemed a lot more confident a week ago than he did yesterday.
And I know there's gamemanship involved, but I don't know. I think we have to monitor that. There's no media availability today.
No.
So the next person that speaks will be ruled again on Thursday, and probably you will get a game time decision.
Yeah.
But
you don't think Tony White will mention it tomorrow night on the network?
No. But I am tending to believe that it'll be Harburg that will receive the majority of the snaps Saturday in the Coliseum.
Yeah. I want to throw this scenario.
Wouldn't that be wild?
It would.
Holgerson's first game calling plays at Nebraska is with the backup quarterback.
What if I had told you...
And he texts Rule from the press box and he goes, what did I get myself into?
What if I told you at the beginning of the season, hey, going to that USC game, that second bye, your offense coordinator is going to be Dana Holgorsen, and he's going to be scheming up a plan for Heinrich Harburg against the Trojans. We'd have thought, what the hell happened this season?
I would have said, and Indiana football is 10-0.
Yeah. Then we'll add that into the equation as well.
Like, when did they legalize it?
What a season! What a season!
This game is made for each other.
It is going. I mean,
on top of a great uniform.
The only thing that would have been better, and not for me personally.
Remember, it's only Tuesday.
Would have been a 9:00 game.
Ooh,
have all of this and have it be the late game. Strange things afoot.
You could have two quarterbacks playing that either are boom or bust. They're either going to break off a big play or they're going to make a turnover.
Yep.
Oh,
Saturday, and you almost expect both of them to happen.
Hey, this game, because of everything that has gone on, from a quarterback change to an OC change for a guy that the last time you played was on his couch watching the game in another state.
Yeah.
You have the program of the mid-'90s against the program of the mid-2000s or the early 2000s, and you could have a sicko committee game.
It is a sicko committee game. It really is, especially with all of the new fun additions and subtractions of each game plan and each personnel. Oh, it's just fantastic.
If this had been on Peacock like you predicted,
this should be on pay-per-view. Kendrick Lamar is going to come out with a track specifically for Nebraska.
It's going to be a diss track?
Not normal. Not normal. Not normal. Sam McEwen of the World Herald joins us next on 1620 The Zone. All right, rolling through a Tuesday of USC week, where if you look on the top 50 boards of the NFL draft, you will find nobody playing in this game. Kind of odd, but it still is Nebraska USC. It is history. It is the Coliseum, and there's a whole lot of intrigue coming into the game on both sides as we welcome in Sam McEwen of the Omaha World Herald. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Good. Okay, let's start here. What for Saturday and then the next two, what is a reasonable expectation for what this offense could maybe look like?
Well, I mean, I think that's a good question. I think numerically, statistically, it could improve a little bit in its yards per attempt and maybe its efficiency in the red zone. How's it going to look? I think, you can get the ball out of the quarterback's hands, whoever the quarterback is, a little faster. And you might be able to play with a little bit more tempo and pace. I honestly think these situations are so relatively unprecedented that you don't exactly know what's going to transpire. So, like you can kind of go through and examine, all right, well, what, and I'm doing that. I'm going to have a story today about what kind of to expect from a Dana Holgorsen offense, but a lot of that's going to be statistical data that's already happened and, just looking at some of the things that his offense tends to do. How that gets fitted to what Nebraska's doing, I think, is probably a conversation that continues into the offseason and into next season. I unless he gets a head coaching job somewhere, I think he'll probably be Nebraska's play caller. Some of this is done to shore up what Nebraska's doing in recruiting. I mean, they have to be able to communicate not only to the players who are young on this team now, but players who are looking to come to Nebraska. This is what we're intending to do. This is how we intend to go forward. And I think that process probably had to begin now because signing day, there isn't really an NLI anymore, but signing day is December 4th. And so you have to get these things in order. And there's probably some players they want to make sure that they can keep in the class based on having Dana Holgorsen in the fold.
Sam, and I know you're going to dive into this, and I'm sure we're all looking back at a lot of the different Dana Holgorsen formations, things that they can do within reason that Nebraska personnel-wise can do. You would see a lot of 11 personnel, but tight ends would be involved. There'd be a running game element. When I think of the tight end situation and how big of a topic that is when we talk about Nebraska offense, immediately I think of Dana Holgorsen calling the plays and trying to identify things. I'm curious where that would put a guy like Thomas Fidone in the overall situation of what we typically see Dana Holgorsen wanting to do with an offense. Do you think this is a good thing for Thomas Fidone, or will this be a little bit more of a challenge?
I think it could be a good thing for him. It kind of depends on what era that you look at Holgorsen, but they do use a tight end at times. A lot of times that guy will be in the backfield. So he'll be kind of like an H-back. You'll have sort of a two-back system. You'll have it looks like a two-back system, but it's not. Fidone has the ability to obviously split out wide and make plays in the slot. This might be something that also helps a guy like Carter Nelson going forward.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, there's ways in which you can utilize a player of Fidone's skill set. Again, how it's going to look on Saturday is a good question. I think some of what Nebraska needs to do is get better at what it does by the quality of its execution. And so, one of the things I think Holgorsen can come in and do in a very short amount of time is assess the quality of coaching. And Matt Rule obviously is going to say what he said yesterday about Holgorsen's report about what's going on, but we're also not talking to Holgorsen. And if we were, I don't know what he would say. I'm not sure he always knows what he's going to say when he goes up there. And I don't mean that as a criticism. He's just kind of all over the place. So, I think the one thing you get when you bring a guy like this in is you're getting a system and you're getting his instinct. And he has a pretty good instinct. Like he like Mike Leach and like some of the other people who have been in that system just have a pretty good feel for, okay, this is the time to go over the top. Okay, this is the time to This is the time to do this. And you know what they developed? You know what Mike Leach has done a really good job of developing? Coaches who have that instinct. And, Lincoln Riley was a disciple of Mike Leach, and Holgerson is too, and Jake Spavital, who is at Baylor now, and they're scoring a lot of points there. They all have the same kind of understanding, and that instinct is something that I think might help Nebraska. Scott Frost had that instinct. It didn't work with him as a head coach, but I think he understands the game in a way where he could take advantage of those things, and I think that's one of the things that you get with Holgerson.
Okay, so let's stay with this, because Scott Frost, the play caller and head coach at Central Florida, had a swag to him, and he called plays that way, and that offense played with a swag. He got here, and he was not the OC, and they didn't have the same confidence, and they didn't match his personality as a play caller. I think Nebraska's offense kind of matched Satterfield's personality, and that's not here nor there and wrong. It just Marcus Satterfield was a guy coming from the state of South Carolina. He's a Southern guy. He's very low key, and he's kind of got like a dry sense of humor. Do you think kind of what you just said, Sam? I mean, Dana's out there, man. He's a wild card. He's a dog, man. He's not afraid to take chances. We look at an offense that is orchestrated by sometimes a quarterback that comes off as casual, but has guys that have personalities on that offense, but you don't really ever see him. Do you think this could be an offense that all of a sudden has the personality of a play caller that we really haven't seen in a long time in Nebraska?
Yeah, I think that's very possible. I think he is out there, and he's got a lot of aggressiveness, and there is a lot of confidence. And the question always becomes, okay, so how much is Matt Rule going to let him just be him? Some of what Marcus Satterfield was going through is the head coach, would occasionally come through the kitchen and say, I want you to add this to the sauce, or I want you to do that. And Rule took that on himself yesterday when he said, some of this is on me, when he said we tried to do too many things. Then we saw Rule with a play sheet and all this. I mean, in my experience, and this is truly anecdotal, because defensive head coaches struggle with this. They want to protect their defense, A, and B, they want their offenses to be what they don't like to cover on defense, which tends to be a running quarterback. Now, Rule's a little different that way, and I appreciate his differences, but they tend to struggle a little bit with handing it over to an offensive guy that's just saying, do whatever you want to do. So one of the balances that we're going to have to watch is between Rule and Holgerson, and we don't know. And quite frankly, they don't know how that's going to feel until you get in a football game and you start hearing your head coach over the headset saying, now I want to do this and I want to do that. You just don't know. We can say that we know, and Rule can say that he knows, and Holgerson could say that he knows, but you have to put it in practice in 3 football games. And so if you told Dana Holgerson, listen, I don't care, just go out and score as many points as you can. Well, he knows how to do that. Quite frankly, I suspect Marcus Satterfield would too. But then you put your defense at risk, and that's the thing that you have to. And if there's one thing that Rule has always been kind of tried and true with, is he's going to protect his defense, and he's going to run the football, and he's going to try to bleed clock and all the things that defensive head coaches do. And I'll be honest, that didn't work in Carolina. Now, he had some disadvantages. Chris McCaffrey was hurt for like 3 years, but it didn't work there, and it hasn't worked here. Not really. They're 10-11 over his first 21 games, and they're not winning the close games. So the whole hey, we're going to take this down to the last 3 minutes of the game hasn't worked. So we'll see what it looks like to have an offensive coordinator who knows how to score points, how much of an opportunity he's given to do that.
Sam, we know the real possibility is we could see Heinrich Harburg taking the snaps over Dylan Raiola, depending on his health. Just maybe it's gamesmanship, but the vibe didn't seem great, or a little bit less confident compared to a week ago on Dylan. Now, having said that, with all of the new excitement with Dana Holgerson and what this offense could look like, what's your anticipation what this could look like with Heinrich Harburg as a starting quarterback as opposed to Dylan Raiola on Saturday?
I don't know. They don't know. I don't know. I honestly mean that. There's been things that Harburg does well. Couple of things. Let me rewind this a little bit. In high school, Heinrich Harburg was a passer. Yep. He ran, but he didn't run. And then when he got to college, I don't know, Mark Whipple didn't think he was a good quarterback, so he basically didn't really train him. So he lost a year there. And then Satterfield liked him, but he turned him into, a fullback who threw. I don't know that Heinrich Haarberg's best skill set isn't being a passer. It's just that he's had now, this will be his fourth. What is it, his fourth? Let's see. Mario Verduzco, Mark Whipple, Marcus Satterfield, who wasn't even a quarterback coach, Glenn Thomas, who is, and now Dana Holgerson, who's also a quarterback coach and has a better track record than Glenn Thomas, but his fit, voice. So I don't know, I think there's things Haarberg can do. I think he's got a strong arm. I think that throw he made of Ja'Cory Barney was actually a pretty darn good throw. It just, UCLA safety made a nice play on the break on the ball, and Barney wasn't able to come down with it. But I think Haarberg can do some things. I don't really want to see the thing go back to being, a wing T veer Tim Tebow thing. That obviously didn't bear a lot of fruit. And they fumbled the ball a lot, and he got really banged up, and he did what he was asked to do, but that was not. I didn't think that was Nebraska's ideal structure. I think you have to find a way to get the ball out of his hands and keep him upright, unless this is a Danny Kaelin thing. And I don't know that, but Danny has not played, so we don't know. But if you ask Danny Kaelin to go out there and sit in the shotgun and play spread offense, Danny's done that his whole life. So I don't know if there's an option there or not. What I do know is he's really smart. And he is not afraid to throw the football into tight spaces. Now he does throw. He's thrown some interceptions, I think, in camp and whatever. But Danny's not afraid to do any of those things. And I don't know if that's what we're looking at. I think it's probably going to be Dylan, and after that it'd be Heinrich. But this system brings a guy like Danny more into play because you're asking him to kind of do some of the same things that he did at Bell West. Get it out fast, read it fast. Throw it quick, be accurate in a short range. And if you got to push it down the field, you're usually pushing it down the field in a very specific way. One of the things about Holgerson's offense is it doesn't necessarily create a ton of interceptions. They do a nice job of spacing and getting guys in places. And, so there's going to be some opportunities for whoever the quarterback is to throw it deep without as much risk as you'll see in the Satterfield attack.
So now let's fast forward to Saturday, because you're going to have Dana Holgerson calling plays against a Lincoln Riley coach team. So all of a sudden it's Oklahoma, West Virginia all over again. But USC in particular, they have 3 games to play. They need 2 to become bowl eligible. One of them this weekend. They also have their rival, and then they have Notre Dame. So it may not be the path to get to the bowl, but they also have had fourth quarters where you're like, how are they not winning? Or they blow fourth quarter leads. They've made a quarterback change. They've got former players and current players that are on social media. They got moms of Miller Moss, just one mom of Miller Moss. I mean, there seems to be some drama that's going on at USC. So who knows what we're going to get on Saturday? I think this game has now become really fascinating. But do you, and you follow college football, so you know Lincoln Riley and USC and what they've done up until kind of the middle of last year. Is USC also kind of like at the fork in the road of where they're going with Lincoln Riley in year 1 of Big Ten for the future?
I think so. I think so. And some of this is a longer answer than you'll probably want, but I'll try to keep it succinct. I think it's going to be really hard for UCLA and USC to win at a really high level going forward. I think the state of California doesn't love football the way it did maybe when, 30 years ago, when Nebraska was able to get guys out of there like Ralph Brown and Lawrence Phillips and others. They don't love the sport the way that they used to. I think the fan attention isn't what it needs to be. I think that both of those programs have struggled to build the kind of facilities and amenities that some of these other universities have money for, because that's just not necessarily a chief priority of those 2 schools. And so while they may be quite good in basketball going forward, I think football is going to be hard. And Lincoln Riley is going to have to decide, if he wants to go ahead and do the whole thing there and get it right, or if he wants to, move forward. look, USC can let him go and say, get out of town. I don't know who they're going to hire though. Like that doesn't look like an appealing job. Maybe James Franklin's ready to leave Penn State and go out there, but it's just not that appealing of a job anymore. Like it just isn't. You're not rock stars out there. There's 2 NFL teams in town. LeBron's there now with the Lakers and the Dodgers. And so like everybody kind of knows what the top teams in LA are. And so I think it's really interesting. They could win their last 3 games quite easily. They got a bye week. They basically have to spend the whole month at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they get a bye week, and then they play Nebraska, and then they play in the Rose Bowl, but that's like 15 minutes away. So that's a home game, basically, on grass in a different stadium. Yeah. And then they play Notre Dame at home. So they got to spend basically the month of November in LA. So we're going to find out if that benefits them. If that helps them, and maybe being at home, they've had a hellacious travel schedule. So this last month is crucial. They could win all 3 games. They have the talent to do it. They could lose them all. They have the inconsistency to do it. So I think it is probably a pivotal moment in his tenure. I don't know that that's a great job though. Great uniforms, great song, great tradition, all of that. But a lot of the kids that used to be great, who really used to play football, they don't play football anymore. So it's becoming a harder and harder place in order to get the players that you need and want to excel.
Sam, real quickly, I wanted to get your personal thoughts on a question you asked yesterday, because this has been even going all the way back to last week with the announcement that Dana Holgorsen would be a part of this staff, and until yesterday we didn't know it to what capacity. Is the players' response to this and how they have dealt with this, especially on the offensive side of it? What is your, knowing there's a blend of young but also veterans in that, on that side of the football, what's your read on how they would handle this type of disruption? And disruption has a negative connotation, but just the disruption of having a brand new face and voice handling the offense.
I don't think they'll have one bit of a problem with it. Not one. Because that offense has not been producing for a month, and those guys want to score touchdowns. So they want to score. They want to play well. They want to be in an offense that freewheels it. And so now nominally speaking, anybody could say, well, this is dysfunctional. Yeah, I get it. But quarterbacks and receivers like to throw touchdowns and catch touchdowns. And they have an opportunity to do that now. Now, knowing today's student athlete, they could turn any positive situation into a negative one. And I that sounds critical, but a lot of times players can get in their feels a little bit. But I think honestly, these players will be fine. They're going to be just fine, and they'll be resilient, and they'll be okay, and they're probably excited to see what this guy can do. And, they want some success, and they want to throw the ball downfield, and that's what these receivers came here to do. So do I think they're going to be like, boy, I tell you, Marcus Satterfield, man, that's a tough deal? No, I don't think so. I think they're going to be excited because Dana Holgorsen has got a track record. I'm sure these guys went on YouTube and watched his offenses. I'm sure they hear the name Geno Smith and go, oh, yeah, Geno Smith, so they'll be just fine.
Yeah.
I think they'll be just fine.
Sam, appreciate it. Enjoy the trip out to the Coliseum. It'll be your second time in the Coliseum?
Just the first. Yeah, I wasn't there in 2006, so this will be my first chance to see it, and I look forward to it.
All right. Have fun. Thank you.
Take care.
That's Sam McCune of the World Herald, the #1 asker of questions at media availability.
Yes. Yeah, top in our power rankings of question askers.
Yes. All right. Well, there's a lot to unpack. Some of the things that Sam said. We'll get into when we come back in the next hour. We still have Brian Christopherson and Andy Kendi. Three guys on the show talking to 3 guys that will not be in Los Angeles.
Why do you got to go there? And 3 guys that I would still say are sneaky good in the power rankings of asking questions.
I know.
You'll hear their voice.
Just we haven't all been to media. Oh, you're talking about those 3.
Yeah, we've got, I would say, between Sam, BC, and Andy.
Andy carries the torch for TV guys.
He does, and he sits up front
post
game.
Yeah.
He's with the online boys.
Some reporters, true story, are a little bit gun shy now that they show you on camera. They are.
Like, ooh, there's a lot of pressure here.
Hour 3 coming next. All right, winner, chicken dinner. This Tuesday, all about sports. There is a MAC triple header. The in-season NBA Cup begins. We have the Champions Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Both KU and Duke are 6.5-point favorites. Rock Chalk Jayhawk and Cooper.
Rock Chalk. Go ahead.
No, finish.
No,
Finish.
you.
He's your
No,
friend.
you do it
No,
better.
no.
I love
you
me.
do you.
I love myself some Brian Haney. He's a great man. But
Rock, Chuck, J-O-K-U, Zeke Mayo. Take
Doing
that,
Haney's.
Roy Williams. If you would have stayed, Zeke would have been playing for you. Rock, Chuck, J-O-K-U. Hey, tomorrow we'll be at Arrowhead where your Rock, Chuck, Jayhawks take on the Iowa State Cyclones. David Lawrence will have the pregame for you right here on the Jayhawk Radio Network beginning at 12:30. Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk. Don't forget when you go into your local Speedy Mart there off of Mass Avenue, make sure if you tell the clerk, Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk, you're going to get a free ice cream cone.
you know how many people just tuned in right now are like, what the?
KJ Adams
is it
inbound.
1620?
Speedy Mart. I used to buy cigarettes from there.
KU runs a pick and roll. Rock, Chuck, Jayhawk, Hunter Dickinson. Throw it down, baby.
Did you just work Bill
You know,
Walton
when we
in there?
do this, we
Hey.
could not have him on because the one day we did,
I started
you were
talking
doing,
like him.
Well, you were doing that, and then we had him on, and I just kept hearing your imitation as he's
Echo.
talking. And there were moments I had to actually look away from the camera.
So I saw him at a Royals game this year,
Okay.
and
He's such a good dude.
yeah,
He's
Brian's,
such a good
Brian's
dude.
a nice guy.
Happy belated
he
to
actually
David, by the way. His
Hey,
birthday
by the
was
way, he
yesterday.
actually got the KU job while he was here at the College World Series when he was working for Texas Tech.
Yeah, he was running
Yep.
out by the
Um,
day trader.
He he recognized he didn't know my name, but I said, Ryan. All right, welcome back in. I like KU tonight.
I did too.
I do like KU.
I do too.
The Duke game. People
least
get
they play early.
5:30.
Yeah.
Good.
Ideal for you, Jimmy.
Yes.
Isn't it usually at like 6?
No,
They're
it's
doing the
usually like
5:30.
9. And
But
I'm
it's,
bitching
Well,
all the
yeah,
time.
but the first half of the doubleheader is usually like at
usually in
6.
Chicago though, right? This is in Atlanta for the first
Yeah,
time.
it is in
Is that right?
Georgia, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good games tonight. Yeah, they're the start time for the KU Michigan State game is anti-Creighton. I know that TV makes the world go round, and the TV folks are more interested in the people on the couch than the people in the building. I think it's ridiculous. All these 8:00 games around
Yeah,
here.
I know.
preach.
I'm with
Okay.
you. A
Bastards.
lot of even last year, I remember a lot of the Nebraska games were at 8:00, and the Creighton games.
That's a rough watch.
Which it's interesting because you're in the Eastern time zone of the majority of that conference. So why would you want to have an 8:00 game? Because that's 9:00 out there. I just
Nebraska Creighton playing at 8, not good.
Oh.
Okay, even the Kansas
No.
City Royals are going to play weeknight games at 6:40.
I
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it when the Storm Chasers start at 6:30, and then when school's out, they go to 7:05. That's a bad move, Marty. Stick with the 6:30 or 6:40. But college basketball games in the middle of the week that start at 8. Come on, and I know people leave early. Well,
Yeah, you
maybe got to go to work.
Exactly.
All right, so we need to stop 8:00 games around here. Maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah.
If they're good games.
Yeah, if it's
But
a marquee national spotlight.
Houston
type thing.
Christian at 8:00.
Yeah, no.
Jesus, play that at noon.
Yeah.
Okay, let people. Most of your
6.
fan base works downtown anyhow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Give them a nooner.
if they're not looking in people's mouths or prosecuting criminals, let them come to the
if they-
game.
wait,
They
if
have
they're
their
doing
sweater
what?
vest already
If
on.
they're doing what about mouths? What?
I am on a roll of the last 4 people that
Is
are
this,
dead.
is this an anti-dentite joke?
No.
You're an anti-dentite.
I'm on a roll. The last 4 people that I have met that identify themselves as dentists, they are Creighton grads.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
Use some nurses.
I believe
Same.
they have a very good school of dentistry.
That would be it.
Dental school?
Teeth.
Don't they have a good dental school?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think you can just go there and be like a communication major.
Not a very good one.
Hey, on the side online, I got my dental degree.
I minored in.
Okay, so I'm out on
Art.
8:00 games. That's why, Jimmy, this is ideal for you because Jimmy, you go to bed like at 7.
Last night I did.
At 7?
Yeah, I wasn't feeling well.
Oh.
I'm good now.
I stayed up because I wanted to watch Sean McVay do this. People that are watching on 1620 The Zone TV. He talks behind his play sheet.
Yeah, he does.
Do you think that's how he lured in his now wife?
He talked behind the play sheet?
Do you think the majority of Sean McVay's life is talking behind a play sheet?
Probably.
That's,
yeah, it's just a habit, I
So
think.
he's Mr. Cliche guy. And also,
Yeah.
I have no idea what he was doing last night with the field goal on 3rd down. But
Hey, he's an offensive genius. Don't you even try to second guess that.
Oh, because he's Mr. Cliche.
Well, and he's an offensive genius.
I'm not down on Sean McVay, but whenever you hear him talk, he has like the cliches.
All of them.
And then he gives you the real big smile of.
I mean, he's a genius, but he didn't know what he was doing last night in terms of field.
Is he a genius?
Yeah.
Is he a genius?
Yeah, because he can recall every single play.
Yes, exactly. But
yeah.
So, okay. Better question.
I mean, I think people that can solve a Rubik's Cube in 5 seconds and remember every single play call are geniuses.
Do you remember the Sean McVay, the first couple of years when he was there and he started rattling off an exact play from 2 or 3 years ago, the down and distance, the time of the game, and everyone was like, just mind blown, like, this guy is amazing. And then you'd watch his team.
He is. When you can do that, look at Rain Man.
Oh, what?
Dustin Hoffman.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but I don't know if Rain Man was a good clock manager.
Well, he wasn't asked to be a football coach.
Yeah.
He was asked just to be.
Would Rain Man have been a good clock manager? Depends on when the
he could script the plays.
When the People's Court was on, everything would be timed around the People's Court.
Yeah, that's a good question. I have to ponder that one.
Yeah. I know. I threw a curveball at you,
but Sean McVay, everything is behind the play sheet.
He's the phantom.
Yeah.
Like, do you think like when they walk in the halls of the Rams office, that's how they talk to each other in case there's cameras? In case like Connor Stallions is on a tour.
Yeah. Hey guys, how's the family? Family's good. How's your family? Oh, pretty good.
His picture in the media guide, also with a play sheet.
Again, somebody explained to me the idea behind kicking the field goal on 3rd down when they get inside the 20 and the clock is stopped.
He's like Wilson on Home Improvement.
He is.
Yeah.
But then didn't at the end of Home Improvement,
they got
to see Wilson's face?
Yeah, you got to see him. Not what you thought.
No, not in the finale.
No, it never
did.
No,
never.
Really. There was an
Isn't that
accident
show
early
still-
in the season where he was in the audience at tool time.
Oh,
that
maybe
wasn't
that's
on
what
purpose, but
okay. I knew he got revealed at one point.
They should have though.
Everything gets revealed. Cosmo Kramer. You never knew his first name.
But that happened so early in the Seinfeld.
Still counts.
They still had 4 seasons after that he was Cosmo. That would have been, in my opinion, a final season.
Well, he wouldn't have been able to be Ass Man if you didn't know his first name.
Yeah, I'm Cosmo Kramer, proctologist.
Peach emoji.
What Sean McVay could be related to PJ Fleck? Don't they kind of look each other? And they had the same type of energy.
Could have been working in the same town.
Yeah, see? Yeah. They have the same kind of energy, too. Little Sean McVay in them.
Brian Christopherson and Andy Kendi still to come on Dana Holgerson Day.
It is.
Why?
Speaking of energy,
why are people? People are people.
That's true. That's fact. Those are facts.
Depeche Mode told us.
Who cares that Nebraska has a tight end coach that's making $1.4 million? He's here for 3 games. Who cares?
I admit, I thought about that yesterday. Like, damn, that's a pretty expensive tight end coach. I get it.
It's not your money. Okay,
that's true. That is
Ain't
true.
my money.
That's true. It's not coming out of my checking account.
Okay. He was going to make that money no matter what, whether he stayed or not.
Yeah, and the fact that he decided to stick around, continuity is a good thing.
He will go down, and again, he was a little bit set up to fail because there was nothing that said he would seamlessly make the transition to Nebraska. Nebraska would be humming. Okay,
right.
So Rule has to take some ownership in that, and he kind of did yesterday. That he's at fault. That was not the ideal spot for him, but that was one of his first. Marcus Satterfield is my OC. But Marcus Satterfield will go down as one of the more disliked coordinators in the history of Nebraska. And trust me, there have been plenty of coordinators post Charlie, Tom, and Frank in Nebraska football history in like 20 plus years of very disliked. If the offense was struggling, but Dylan was playing okay, do you think the mood around Satterfield would be just a tad different?
I do.
Not completely.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we're on the same page here because you have DR15, and whether he's failed Nebraska has failed him. Nebraska's had a hard time incorporating a true star into the whole ecosystem of Nebraska football. Who the hell knows? But the fact that he doesn't look anything like he used to look like, and it may not all be Satterfield's fault. I think that gets put on Satterfield's tab. So that's an additional, that guy's got to go. He's here for 3 games, okay? And then he's moving on. How many other guys on the offensive staff will move on? Let's say, because Nebraska needs a commitment out of Holgerson. They need this for at least 2 years, in my opinion.
I agree.
Okay? We're not entertaining head coaching jobs in the offseason. We are not entertaining other OC jobs because I think the coordinator market will be more aggressive than the head coaching market because of the money that is involved of, I don't want to pay $49 million to get rid of my head coach, but I might pay $3 million to get a really good OC guy to help my head coach who I don't have the funds to fire.
Which I think is good business, to be quite honest. I think that makes more sense.
I don't know if it's good business to have these deals that are signed where a coach is really bad at his job and he is handcuffing your program, but to get rid of him, it's going to cost you $50 million.
In those scenarios, no. But in a situation where the head coach is maybe being unfairly, get it is your team, but you're being unfairly responsible for the doings of your offense when a simple fix at the OC could make sense, or vice versa with the defensive. If you have a very weak link on the defensive side, that I get it. At the end of the day, it's the head coach's decisions and all of those. But sometimes we will just immediately put the head coach right there and say it's your fault because you make these decisions. When, hey, you know what? Actually, if we change coordinators, I know sometimes that's the last ditch effort. But if we change a coordinator here and you get a good one, all of a sudden those things come together, and you're paying less money.
Tell you another thing we need to start looking at, and we need to hold these people, their feet to the fire. When are we going to stand up for the athletic directors that make bad hires and continue to make bad hires? Okay? The coach is on the front line. The athletic director gets to make another hire. Scott Strickland of Florida, who I am not convinced that Billy Napier is coming back next year. I am not convinced.
Same.
But athletic directors making bad hires, and they continue to make bad hires, we need to start holding their feet to the fire.
Sure.
The coach, man, maybe you were put in a bad position. You should have never been hired for this job because you didn't have the tools in the toolbox to be successful here. You just happened to be the hot guy at the time, and the athletic director had to go out and get a name guy. Athletic directors need to be held accountable, but all athletic directors also need to be praised for really good hires.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, it works both ways. Sure.
Okay?
I would agree.
There's a guy that's retired at Creighton that nearly every hire is bang, 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 bang. Going to have a guy that's going to be the all-time winningest coach in the history of Creighton basketball.
On Wednesday.
You know, the guy's going to surpass, may have hired him as well.
Yep.
Okay, so there's my weekly, I should say it all the time, love of Raz. Now back to Dana Holgorsen and the staff.
Sounded funny.
So who cares about a guy who's going to make $1.4 million being a tight end coach?
I just know. We paid Bruce Street $500,000 for a part-time gig.
We got money from God. Okay, we're just big boy football.
You go to golf at noon? I'm there.
Poll question: what if the tight ends look really good in the last 3 games? Was Nebraska doing it wrong all the time?
Playing chess.
Okay. I should have put more money into the position.
Here's one thing I do think about Holgorsen. You got to have a commitment out of him because he's here for DR15. If Dad says that guy got to go, that guy got to come, that guy got to stay here for a while. So I think you need a commitment. And no dabbling with head coaching jobs in Conference USA or anywhere else. You're here. You're not going to go recruiting, but we're going to recruit to you. I think when you also make a move like this, you say, Dana, that staff in 2025 is yours to decide.
Agreed, 100%.
And I will tell you what, if I'm looking at the way Dana operates, what he likes to do, who he has hired, there are some uncomfortable fits that are on Nebraska's offensive staff right now. But I think if you make this move, you essentially are saying to a former head coach, you got to say in who you're working with in 2025 to make the world go round. And you know what? We'll bite the bullet on some contracts. Some other contracts are up. But it's yours to decide, can these fellas coach the X's and O's that you need to mesh with you? And if they can't, I'm allowing you to go out and get them. Because I don't think there'll be just one subtraction on the offensive side of the ball. I think there'll be a couple.
Yeah, and there should be. If Dana Holgorsen is going to be your guy, and that would be great to have that commitment out of him. If you believe a lot of what has been around the Dana Holgorsen camp that he wants to be a head football coach, again, that's fine. You're still a young enough guy. You can elevate that prospect by being able to have success here at a place like Nebraska. But wouldn't it make sense? Okay, this goes back to something you and I were talking.
53.
Yeah, he's a young dude.
How old is his liver?
That of a 72-year-old.
That's a true question.
That's okay. This goes back to something we were discussing about Matt Rule, the defensive guy, and maybe we talked about this last week, where he seemed uncomfortable last Monday trying to give you the why on the offense. This move signals to me that he wants this off his plate from the standpoint of not having to butt his head into a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I think he did is so he would have some answers. He would be able to have a better idea of, again, the why. In this case, why it wasn't working, not why is it working well. So you get a guy who is a former head coach, a guy that has been well-traveled, a guy that has also a lot of coaching influences around him from his time going all the way back to Oklahoma State to his time as a head coach at both West Virginia and Houston. Matt Rule himself even said, one of his first impressions of him was listening to him speak. So there's a lot of people that have some type of relationship with Dana Holgorsen, but more importantly, Dana Holgorsen has strong relationships and is going to trust. You said one thing that I don't think enough people are talking about when it comes to the free reign you give a guy like this. This is a former head coach. You're bringing him in to be an offensive coordinator. Wouldn't it just make sense that a guy like that, you're bringing in not just because you need a jump start with your offense and this is desperate times calling for desperate measures, but because you trust him in all things that have to do with this offense, and that would include staff. And if you have to make some uncomfortable decisions, so be it. This is yours. And isn't this how you also get the commitment from Dana Holgorsen too? If we can get 2 years out of you, we need that. We can't make this just a quick fix 3-game thing or even a 2025 thing and then move on. We need you here for a couple of years. But by doing so, you make the hires, you present them to me and let me know why you feel good about this, and I will back you up on that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Because now you get like a month, because you're going to have professional courtesy. If you're not going to retain an assistant, you allow them time to go find a job.
Yep.
And, once the season is over, it could be chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
December 4th is signing day. Portal opens on December 9th. Buckle up, Betty. I only know one Betty. I'm not sure if she's a good driver or not.
I don't know any Bettys.
I had an Aunt Betty. She lived in Vegas. She was a couponer.
Oh, yeah. I would imagine a Betty is a couponer.
Yeah, she was a couponer, but hell, she was a hell of a card player.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
I bet she counted cards.
Didn't think that.
Yeah. But that's beside the point. Is though you now have 3 games in the foxhole to talk at a high level with people that are going to fill you in on everything that's going on, like position coaches. So you're going to get an assessment of, I can work with that guy. I think that guy might be coaching the wrong position. Could we slide the wide receiver coach over to tight end?
Mm-hmm.
I got a wide receiver coach that'll be perfect. Let's bring him in.
Yeah.
I'm going to coach the quarterback. So I'm not really familiar with Glenn, but let's keep Glenn on the staff. Where can Glenn be? These are all hypothetical, by the way. But you have 3 games in the foxhole to be high-level thinkers with X's and O's guys and see if they're going to be able to match where you're at, and your verbiage is the similar, and you can work with them because it has to be a fit.
Yeah.
Okay. That was one of the bonuses of last year for Nebraska's defense. They all fit.
Mm-hmm.
I think John Butler and Tony White are still trying to fit. I think John Butler's just trying to fit back into the college game.
Sure.
But it's not like, oh, that's a horrible hire.
No, it makes
he ain't
sense.
going to be here next year. But, they all have to fit together with the guy that's sitting in the front of the room. Isn't it in, Jimmy, you might know this, isn't it in China or Japan, the way they have the structure of offices is that the boss sits at the front of the room and all of the desks face him so he can look at everybody?
That sounds about right.
I think that's what they do.
I'm trying to think.
So that's
I
like
watched
the
Squid Game.
setup. I'm not saying that's the setup, but you kind of see what I'm doing.
Yeah, I do. I mean, while we're on the topic, there's the one position on the offensive side that we didn't mention, the offensive line coach, because everybody's going to ask about that, because that also impacts your quarterback. There's a family connection too. Going off of what Matt Rule said, where Dana Holgorsen is going through the first couple of workouts and is very impressed with a lot of the coaches. Again, that's coming from Matt Rule. What is Dana's thoughts on Donovan Raiola? I think those are all fair questions. Of if Dana Holgorsen said, "Hey, you know what? I got a guy that I really like as an offensive line guy." Is that a thing where, we'd like to keep Donovan though on staff? Is there a world where you can have, because with the analysts, consultants, and everything, you can have multiple people overseeing the offensive line?
One of the things that was appealing to Rule when he talked to Donnie is that they were high-level talkers.
Yes.
They could. Holgorsen come in, he starts talking to Donnie. He's like, "Oh, yeah, I get it. Yep. Man, you got screwed by the other guy. That guy over there in the corner, he was not doing your guys any favors."
Yeah.
Because the thing is, the offensive line would like to run the football.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're not winning a ton of one-on-one battles, and the guy that was calling plays can't scheme up things to get around when you're being beat one-on-one or you're having to double team a guy. I don't know. The Donovan Raiola dynamic is kind of interesting because he's a pretty good recruiter. And if you had to fight for your job, you could probably say, "Hey, I had one bad year, I had one good year."
Mm-hmm.
And
that's fair, yeah.
You want to run it back?
And there is, if there's a tiebreaker, you just hit it. Recruitment. Being able to identify, especially with what they've been able to get out of Hawaii, that you're able to identify, get guys excited about playing at that offensive line for a line in the last decade has not produced at the level that you would like, yet you're still able to get these kids interested, some high-level kids interested. Now it's about the development, but I would say the ultimate tiebreaker, one good, one bad, would be the type of recruiter you are, which that has been an area where the stock for Donovan Raiola has improved big time.
I said it yesterday. I'm so glad Nebraska out loud said we're a developmental program. I think they've wanted to be the Michigan State of D'Antonio, what Iowa does, but they were afraid to say it because you can't say I'm a development program at Nebraska. Rule said it, and I was like, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't say you're a developmental program with developmental coaches.
Yeah.
Okay? You can't. They don't mesh well together. All right, when we come back, we're going to shift. So Joe Klatt got on Twitter yesterday to defend the big noon game because Ohio State fans are not happy. Good on Joe Klatt. Tons of passion for their product, but I think that he won't admit one thing out loud that hamstrings them. I will admit it out loud when we come back. Plus, we have our winner, the most recent four-quarter pick'em. This is the last week.
Yeah,
so if you need $2,500 like for alimony or things like that, or to bail somebody out of jail, but you listen to the Zone, and I don't care where you come
Gary,
from.
the holidays are coming up. Why can't it just be that?
Men, women, animals, anything you are. Creighton fan, Omaha fan, Nebraska fan, whatever you are, whatever background you come from, I don't care if you have to pay $2,500 a month in alimony. Would that be a lot? Just asking for a friend?
I think that would be,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still in my first marriage, so we're good.
Yeah, I am too.
We got some bougie people listening to the show. It's your last opportunity to win $2,500 from us. But our most recent winner, female, right?
Yes.
Bam!
Favorite show is the Connor Happer Show.
People love Connor.
Yeah.
Women love bald men.
True.
They do.
Yeah. I got way more attention when I shaved my head than when I was just a full flow and ginge.
How come women aren't attracted to receding hairline guy, but once the hair is all gone, they're like, ooh.
Because like what Matt Rule did yesterday, it's a bold statement.
Swell.
You're making a bold statement because once you shave it, it's probably not coming back, and you might have weird things going on in your head. It's a risk, but it's a high risk move.
So
it's a high risk, high
So
reward.
Connecting Nebraska football to the follicle world, like you just mentioned.
I'm listening.
So making the bold move, Rule, instead of having splotchy hair, he just shaved it all off.
He shaved it all off. Yep, shaved it all off. He's not clinging to scraps of hair just because he he can't let go. He just said, you know what? We're starting over. We're starting a new look.
The way they played against UCLA, if we're sticking with the hair theme, Rule took a shower and part of it was falling out. And he's like, I got to fix it. Got to go to Hims. A local attorney who dabbles in this said that $2,500 for alimony is not a lot.
Oh, it's not?
Oh,
Okay.
that's scary.
Even more reason
It's also positive that none of us know if that's a lot or not.
Yes. And even more reason to, if you are currently married, stay married.
I think we're all good here.
People don't get married anymore.
You don't want that tab.
They live together, Nick.
Yeah, that's true. Life partners.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Share the bed. Don't share the checkbook.
I mean, you could still have your own account. We have a joint, and I have my own account.
You guys still sharing a bed?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
We're not there yet. We haven't put the two beds in one room yet.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh, like son-in-law.
She doesn't have like the Jimmy legs. Isn't that what Estelle had in Seinfeld? She's got the Jimmy legs. Yeah, not yet.
Does she snore?
No.
Okay.
And as far as I know, I don't either. So far we're good.
All right.
Yeah. Now, doesn't
stay tuned.
Older age starts to help that along.
Getting that fork in the road of your marriage.
Yeah, thanks.
Got to make some decisions.
His and her CPAP machines.
Is this going to work? Who gets the kid?
Well, I mean, we'll be in 10 years and 26.
Wow.
All so right. that'll be a crossroad of, okay, are we still sleeping in the same bed?
Okay.
I don't feel like 10 years is a lot.
It's a minute. No. I think you guys will have a long marriage.
Oh yeah. I'm betting on y'all.
Thank you.
If not, 402-951-1620. We're back with more after this. Big moment for Nick. After our discussion about you.
Not my wife. I'm going to say she has now sent divorce papers.
In the portal.
That was quick. I'm guessing a conversation on the radio is not the reason why the divorce papers came.
Thanks for listening.
No. She's upset with drop off today. Has nothing to do with you or me. So
People violating rules.
Yeah, people just not paying attention, Gary. This is but we only have to deal with this for one more month. Then it's on to the next one because we did put him he's in the portal. He's in the daycare portal. But as Nebraska is Chicago and Chicago is Nebraska, okay, Matt Rule. Matt Eberflus is also paying attention to your wheelings and dealings, and he said, you know what? I don't like the direction of our offense, too. I'm going to go ahead and fire our offensive coordinator. The Chicago Bears have fired Shane Waldron, who doesn't even make it 1 year in Chicago because he has already broken Caleb Williams.
Don't like to celebrate people losing their jobs.
No, I don't. Well, he's going to have a lot of money to walk away.
Okay. I guess I made it better.
Yeah. And he's got his holidays free now.
So in 2 months, you'll be looking for a new head coach in football in the NFL.
Hey, by the way, guys, before I forget, Pimp King tweeted at us about an idea about our picks before you guys reveal the winner.
Punishment?
Yeah, the person that comes in dead last in your pick'em pool has to give up their co-host for a show and let Fremont Fred and I roll in with a case of beer and get Fan Radio Day. It will change the future of radio. I have confirmed that Fremont Fred supports this idea, and I would third.
We've talked about
okay, so let's do this. I love this idea.
I do too.
4 hours, 4 different co-hosts.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we choose the co-host.
Right.
Yep.
So, Pimp King, Dawn, Fremont Fred, Random Mike, Nebraska Ball Mike, Kool-Aid Steve, Joe in Phoenix. We could come up with these.
Yep.
I love this idea.
Yeah, I do too.
All right. We'll,
get at us. Let us know.
We'll,
I love it.
We'll share it amongst the other people on the zone.
Because we've got in the bottom 3 right now, we've got every show represented.
All right.
That's
myself,
true.
Grimm, and Odson. Well, Happer and I are tied. So Happer and Odson, and then you guys are.
Wait a minute. No, hold on. I got to go back here. No, we're not going to. This is not the punishment because that gives that person that is awful a day off.
That's true.
Yeah, so we got to change.
So they got to sit in with the random hosts.
Okay, so
the other ones get the show
I would get
off.
the day off.
Yeah, you would get the day off if it ended
November's
today.
perfect.
Actually, we'd be. So is this for all shows or just the one?
No, it's for
whatever
all the
they
shows.
want to do. Yeah.
No, it's for the show that has the person finishes last.
So then in this case, it would have to. Connor would get the day off, and Odson would do the show with Fremont Fred and Pimp King.
Yes.
I love this.
Connor, sit back at home and enjoy
Nick
that.
Grimm is one away from having to sit in, giving Josh and John the day off. And Nick Grimm sitting
Don't they
with,
have some nemesis listeners that would love to come in and be with them?
I believe, and he's one of our faithful streamers. We always appreciate the contributions of one Jimmy, not you.
Jimmy Palmer?
Yeah, Jimmy Palmer.
Shout out, Jimmy.
I believe, but I don't know if I know Jimmy and Josh. I don't think get along. I don't know what his relationship is with Nick Grimm.
This is a great idea.
I don't know if Nick Grimm has many adversaries.
We're going to make this happen, just like we treat yourself around with Sausage Guy. Made a national appearance yesterday. I don't know if you guys watch Wheel of Fortune. And you ever, like some of the Wheel of Fortune fails.
Yeah.
There was one.
Yeah, when they can't.
There was
solve.
one contestant that guessed right up the butt, but that was completely wrong. So yesterday,
Fantasy team name.
So yesterday on Wheel of Fortune, a guy named Will was trying to solve the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought it was treat yourself to a round of sausage. The puzzle was actually give yourself a round of applause. Now, the clue on Wheel of Fortune was famous phrases.
Yeah.
If Haktua Girl can have a podcast, which I'm done trying to convince you guys to listen to this podcast.
I've listened twice.
I have learned so much.
Oh,
I have learned so much. I subscribe. Once that drops, I am there with Haktua Girl.
I was a little alarmed when I sent you the picture of the person that had the bumper sticker that said Hawk Tua spit on that thing, and you said new pod drops at 11. Like you were on it,
dude. It's huge. It's huge. Spit on it. It's huge. But if she can have a podcast, this guy's got to have a TV show.
Jimmy, please clip that part.
Famous phrases.
A lot of it.
That's a promo right there.
It's the first time I've ever heard treat yourself to a round of sausage as a famous phrase, but it happened last night on Wheel of Fortune.
Did anybody blush?
I'm not sure. I think
Ryan Seacrest did.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to know. Did Ryan Seacrest blush?
It's like Alex Trebek.
Mm-hmm. But you guys could see, the answer was give yourself a round of applause. You could see where you'd be like, treat yourself to a round of sausage.
Treat yourself to a round of sausage.
You just say that to your friends on Saturday.
One phrase that I've never heard.
Treat yourself to a round of sausage, guys. At the Wisconsin game in the press box.
Excuse me, miss. We need a round of sausage over here.
But you know what? Think about it. I might incorporate this into a broadcast. This has a strong staying power potential.
Treat yourself to a round of sausage.
Asian Joe says, are her subscribers called spitters? People want to know.
Well, in that case, Gary would be. Well, you are a religious listener.
Hey, just as a point of reference, Nick, that does not fit me.
Does that need context?
So many drops in so little time.
We need context on that one, too.
I am not a spitter.
I am really hoping people are just randomly just tuning into the show right now.
Well, that's why I'm going to treat yourself to a round of sausage. Hey, so do you think that Bishop, myself, and Kent, at some point after a dunk, where the crowd goes crazy at PBA, Baxter, or CHI, goes, treat yourself to a round of sausage?
I just thought of KP doing that. That's why I almost spit water out of my nose.
Could John work that in one of these bye games?
With a bangarang of KP and then treat
yourself to a round of sausage.
That's a horrible call. Treat yourself to a round of sausage. Be better.
Bishop.
Okay. We do have the latest winner in the
pivot
4-quarter pick.
Aside from all of us.
16-20 the zone. And it is...
The winner is, as you mentioned, one of our female listeners, Holly Walls. Yes. Holly has won $2,500. And bragging rights, hopefully, too. Hopefully this was a thing amongst friends.
Did she? What does it say? A record?
It did not. So I'm assuming she did not go a 10 of 10. Yes, because we were on a 3 or 2 week streak. I know at least maybe 3 week streak of 10 of 10. So I'm assuming this was not a perfect 10-0. But what I'm assuming is Holly had either 9 or 8, but she was probably the first one in because she is an email subscriber.
Good call.
Which if you go to 1620, the email, you can also, because this is our last week, as Gary mentioned. So just go to 1620thezone.com and sign up for email. You get other things too, like news, contests, promotions, and more. And first dibs to get in on the 4-quarter pick'em final week to win $2,500. 1620thezone.com. But congratulations, Holly. We'll let Connor know as well that he's repping her favorite show.
And that he's working with Fred and Don, possibly.
No, he wouldn't be. It'd be Josh.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Connor would actually get the day off. I love this idea.
Let's go, Nick. Let's go all the way to the bottom.
So it'd just be me, so you guys could have the day off?
You could go an 0-10.
Well, then can I at least get like Peterman to come in and produce?
Yeah.
Because I buy this bet, you guys both get the day off since you're on the board.
Oh, hey, bring the guy that got on you about calling the Indians.
Darren?
Yeah.
I can see if Darren would. Darren, you want to come in? Let's talk about.
I could have it rigged that you can go 0-10. I know a person.
Darren might be still ticked off after last Tuesday. Joe Klatt. Yesterday got into. So Ohio State fans are upset that they're always playing at 11 a.m. Of course, Penn State was not happy that their whiteout was kind of messed up. They had to play against Washington, so it was on on NBC.
It was a sunny whiteout.
So, the check still cashes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Ohio State fans are really livid about all these 11 a.m. games. Now, they don't play on Fox this weekend, but they are 11 a.m. with Northwestern.
Yeah. You got to throw a dog a bone.
It's not this. Yeah, it's this weekend. Because they're at Wrigley this weekend.
Yes, I saw the field.
Yeah, you know what? The next 2 weekends we have football at baseball stadiums, Wrigley and Yankee Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So Joe Klatt yesterday went on Twitter to defend Fox Sports' Big Noon Saturday. Here it is the big 11 a.m. kickoff because there is some criticism. So one of the quotes was, "You will find me and the entire hardworking Fox Sports Big Noon crew wherever we are sent, celebrating this great sport and its amazing fans." There is a 10 a.m. Mountain Time kick this weekend between Colorado and Utah.
Yep.
Fox does have a little flexibility, but they have worked very hard to make 11 a.m. the slot. I still think that the 2:30, I think primetime is coming back.
Every Big Ten team now can play primetime whenever.
But we look at it different around here. If I'm on the East Coast where Columbus is, or in the Eastern time zone, noon is much different from 11.
Yeah.
Yes.
It might only be 1 hour. Sister Monica Mary, who I think taught me the clock, rest in peace. She was old and first grade teacher. She must have been 95 when she was teaching.
Was she angry?
She was senile.
Was she angry?
She wasn't really angry.
Okay. And I remember you had a angry
you know what? She was a tenured nun that they just didn't know what to do with. Like you couldn't retire her.
Oh,
so
like Corso.
They let her teach first grade. Yeah. Of all teachers that I had, to teach first grade was a 95-year-old nun.
Oh.
She was very nice, though. She was frail.
Okay, so she was nice and frail, and
like she
probably got away with a lot of things.
She wouldn't let people hug her very much because she'd like break.
Oh, yeah.
But we had a lot of huggers.
Losing a lot of calcium.
I remember in first grade we had a lot of huggers.
Oh,
I don't know.
Many do in first grade.
Okay,
they love the hugs.
You know what? The
very open community in Urbandale, Iowa.
The youngsters do love the hugs, and gosh darn it, it's adorable.
What happens when you get older? How come they don't still appreciate it?
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know.
But I mean, noon on the East Coast, much different from 11. We know how we look at 11.
Yeah.
Here's what has happened. All right. You can't complain because the check still comes and you cash it. But what the transition has been, TV people care more about your couch than they do your plank in the stadium. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay?
Because you in the stadium does them no good.
Because the 11 a.m. does screw you up. Yeah, it's great because you get to watch all the other games at the end of the day if you're staying at home. But if you're going to the game, it's going to be early in the morning. You're probably not going to get the big time to tailgate. You don't really want to tailgate after the game. You just want to put everything together and get out of there.
Yep.
So it does impact you, but they're thinking about the people at home than the people in the stadium. But I also think there's another thing about him standing up for Fox that he's afraid to admit out loud. Their Big Noon Saturday time slot is so tied into that pregame show.
Yes.
Like where that pregame show is, they got to do that game.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of game day, which will go to, Indiana, Washington, but they don't have the game.
Right.
So they're not tied into that game.
Nope.
So
and there are a lot of times the game might be at night. So it's not even necessarily you're going from the pregame show right into kickoff.
Yeah. So they're tied in with that pregame and there's nothing they can do. He's not going to admit that. I will say that's what my observation is.
Mm-hmm.
But we've made the transition where the home to TV is more important than the people in the stadium, where the people that are running an athletic department because they need revenue are desperately trying to figure out how to get more people in the stadium and get them off their couch.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of an interesting dynamic.
It is. And
he addressed it yesterday, and I'm glad that he discussed it. I didn't agree with all of his points, but he's a company guy and he's one of the best in the business. And he's just trying to back up Fox, but I wish he would have said something about the pregame show.
Well, and he did try to, as you mentioned, he tried to explain the dynamics at play when it comes to all the networks. And so he talks about how Fox has tried to essentially make, and we've discussed this many times, that Fox has just tried to make that their primetime slot where CBS has their 2:30, NBC/ABC have the evening. And so you can have two primetime slots on those two stations. But when he says when each network gets to select a game for network air, it must be shown in that network's exclusive window. When we have the privilege to select one of the great matchups of the week, we showcase that game in our premium window. So they've embraced it. They've completely leaned into it. But you ask a question, or unless you bring something up that begs the question, what's dictating the pregame show in this kickoff? So did they feel like they were pigeonholed into 11 a.m. and just are trying now forcibly make that into it because of the pregame?
So when they started that, Nick, I think they didn't want to go head to head with the SEC in the 2:30 CBS, which was the spot.
Right.
So they tried to promote, and remember, when they embraced 11 a.m., game day was really struggling.
They were, yeah.
Okay.
So there was
and Fox was
momentum.
Fox was picking up. Yeah, you're right. Momentum. And so they're like, let's do 11 a.m. And now people are like, no, man, 11 a.m. is not the spot.
Right. Because from a media standpoint, if you ask us, okay, you're going to cover this game 11 a.m., yeah, cool. Because we're not worried about tailgates. You get in and get out, and then you get to watch the rest of the games that day. But yeah, you're right. As far as fans, you want that 2:30 or you want that primetime game. So I understand from an administrative level and from athletic directors how they look at that and say, okay, this is frustrating because I'm with you. There is no reason that Penn State and Ohio State game should be an 11 a.m. game. I just absolutely 100% not. At the very earliest, that's the 2:30 or 3:30 Eastern time slot or a primetime game. They're just, I understand they're trying to really wrap their arms around the 11 a.m. and push it as the big time slot. But for fans to push back, and I'll give Joe Clack credit, he wasn't getting overly defensive to where he was taking it personal. He was trying to explain, well, this is why it's the case. But I also don't blame fans for reacting the way that they are, especially Ohio State fans or Penn State fans, when you want to go to these big game environments, yet there's just something about an 11 a.m. kickoff that just doesn't give you that big game environment. We've seen going all the way back to the Nebraska-Colorado game in 1994. That was an 11 a.m. game.
Yep.
That was a game day lead into that. If you don't get it a lot, if you don't have that 11 a.m. national televised game a lot, you can make that a big deal. But when you're constantly doing that because Fox is dictating that, yeah, it's a tough sell. It truly is a tough sell.
Will this be the first time that Nebraska's not played a home game at 11 a.m.?
Yeah.
Because Wisconsin, Nebraska is now 2:30.
Mm-hmm.
They've played 3 11 a.m. games. They've all been on the road, Purdue, Indiana, and Ohio State.
Yep.
This has to be the first year since Nebraska's entered the Big Ten that they've not played an 11 a.m. game at home.
Yeah, because last year La Tech was not, but was Northern Illinois an 11 a.m. game?
I believe that was a night game.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Was there a conference home game last year that was 11? I know they had an 11 a.m. game last year at home. There might have been 2, actually, now that I think about it. Either way, yes, I think this would be a rare one. This would definitely be.
Maryland was.
Okay, there you go. This would be a rare occasion. And that we were talking about this off the air yesterday at Wisconsin, Nebraska.
Maryland and Iowa last year.
I was 11?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
The game went on for 16 hours.
That it did. That we thought the Wisconsin-Nebraska game had 11 a.m. written all over it. But
this might be
2:30 slot.
This might be for the crack researchers out there. The first year Nebraska has not played an 11 a.m. home game.
Day fight? We didn't know. Yeah, it's I cannot remember a year where they have not had an 11 a.m. home game.
I mean, even Colorado, 10 a.m., that's early.
Yeah, it is. Oh, big time. They did it last year against Nebraska.
But you know what? The checks are still cashing, right? Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
So Ohio State, who people are like, Ohio State needs to speak up. They need to speak up. They're still getting checks, right?
Yeah. I wonder how much they are going to speak
right?
up. Yeah. I do wonder how much
And
they will.
Fox is smart. Fox has got to make some money. They're going to max revenue. So they're going to have Ohio State as many times as they can.
If Ohio State speaks up, they're like, oh, okay, we hear you. We'll put you more in primetime slots for those games. But guess who's also hosting a Friday night game?
Ooh. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. You want your cake and eat it?
BCAK. If you put them together, they spell. They'll join us on the last hour of Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
I actually don't want to dance.
Not so Wisconsin either.
Yeah. See if there was like a little like scorched by a flaming hat nacho, something like that.
Abe Froman on Wheel of Fortune.
John
The
says
Sausage King of Chicago.
John says Stoicich has a new ad campaign.
Stoicich sausage. Treat yourself to a round of sausage.
There's a good dude. Kenny is a great guy. Miss him. When the late Jerry Gray would do his shows here, they would do with Greg Wagner.
Yeah.
Now
They bring in some Stoicich sausage.
Now they're on Boomer. Kenny would be in house and he'd bring sausages.
Oh yeah, you told me about this.
They used
to feed you.
Yes,
Hey.
they did.
Thanksgiving, good spot to stop by.
Mm-hmm.
Stoicich.
There was one time I did actually with this station. I did a remote for remember West Telecommunications.
No.
Okay. Well, you might have you would have been in Florida at this time. They were launching the new. This would have been the ESPN, the very first ESPN fantasy football app when they were promoting that at West Telecommunications, and you're damn right we had Stoicich brought in for all the people who wanted to come up and sign up for ESPN fantasy football. You could get some Stoicich sausage. It was fantastic.
People are drawn by the sausage.
Yeah, they. I think that should be their new slogan.
The sausage is unique. Like it trumps the pepperoni.
I agree with that.
People may not embrace the sausage, but they're intrigued by the sausage.
Yeah.
Because the sausage is different. Tastes
You wanna know how the
different,
sausage
looks
is made.
different.
Mhm.
Like the pepperoni is flat.
Yeah.
The sausage is a little bit clumpy.
Sausage can be a little more spicy than others.
Fritzy emails the show, said Big Noon sucks.
Okay, I thought Fritzy was going to have a sausage tick.
Too early for the sausage. He usually is a nooner. It's bad enough that they are putting big games on at 11, but the fact we also have to listen to Gus Johnson do the game is bad enough. The world famous Ohio State University, not the way I want to start my day. The 11 a.m. game should be the warm-up to the better games at 2:30 and the best games at 6:30 and 7. ABC with the SEC has really made an attempt to plug the 6:30 game.
Yep.
Like bring back 6:30. They lost that golden spot at 2:30. I mean, you see what the 2:30 game in the Big Ten is this weekend and at CBS? Purdue.
Okay, that's all you need to
Purdue
say.
and Penn State.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's right. Yes, that was the one where I felt, oh, good for Purdue. They finally get that. It is. It felt like
Purdue's lost 8 in a row.
Sometimes when TV decisions are made, hey, we've even seen this in high school football where you haven't had a team on for a very long time, but you got to put them in there. Like, you know what? We haven't had them on. Let's throw them a bone. That's the Purdue one.
Oh, good luck on that one. Hope Gary and Brad have some filler material.
Yeah. Talk about Ryan Walters and the potential candidates for the Purdue job.
Whoa. You already ready to get rid of him?
Yeah.
Brian Christopherson.
I like Ryan Walters.
It's coming up next. All right, it is USC week. Boy, it is different on Middle America on the coast on how both teams are looking at this game and what has happened leading up to the game. So to figure it all out and add some context and the whys and the hows is Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7. Good morning, BC.
Good morning, guys. Do you guys like the Trojan March that plays continuously during USC games, or do you not?
Dun 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 dun
Yep.
dun dun. Yeah.
I kind of do.
I do too.
Same.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you had a strong take against it.
No, man, that's part of that's college football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Boomer Sooner, the Seminole chant,
Rocky Top.
Yeah. The first. Okay, so let's play a little game here. I say USC football. The first player that pops in your mind,
O.J. Simpson.
Excuse me?
Is that a bad answer? Sorry, something happened there?
I don't know.
Well,
you couldn't even say Marcus Allen.
I thought like maybe like Reggie Bush, O.J. Simpson,
Carson Palmer.
God, I love it though because that's old school college football. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he's in the headlines a lot.
Not anymore.
Yeah, Reggie Bush, modern days Reggie Bush.
We go.
I remember the Reggie Bush. Remember they had that crazy game against Fresno State that was played at like 9 p.m. Central. It was on FS1 or something, and it was. I still remember the score. I'm pretty sure I got the score nailed, 50-42. People can check it.
Correct. Yeah, that's what it was.
And Reggie Bush had that run where he stopped on a dime on about the 35-yard line on the sideline, switched over field. That is one of my favorite plays of all time in college football.
When we're all tuned in as a nation to watch USC Fresno State, you know there's some star power there.
Saw a quiet bar.
You didn't want to even go with Todd Marinovich?
Oh, Wither Todd Marinovich.
Yeah.
Wither.
Raider great.
Sports Illustrated wrote a story about Todd Marinovich when I was a kid getting into writing, and the lead was Wither Todd Marinovich.
It's quite the story on him.
Yeah, I remember him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could go through the list. I'm sorry for bringing the show down with
No.
my answer being a jackball, but
your words, not ours.
Did you not listen to the last segment?
Well, just
no, I didn't. But go ahead.
Think about so this will be. I'm guessing this will be the fourth time you've seen a Nebraska USC game in person.
Yeah, probably. I've been out there one time. I was out there for the 28-10 game. What year was that? 05?
06.
05 or
06.
Yeah, 06.
Yeah. College game day was there.
So, and then there was the last time they haven't played in a decade, and that's when Cody Kessler in the Holiday Bowl, when Nebraska was making a transition, and you had Barney Cotton and I believe Tim Beck, and they were just willy-nilly calling plays. That was fantastic.
I saw like tight end reverses and things.
Yeah, 45-42.
Entertaining game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Nebraska should have won it.
That is true. Tommy Armstrong.
He was dealing in that game.
He had 422 yards of total offense in that game.
He was dealing.
Yeah, that was fun. Nebraska lost by 3, was driving, had it on about the 30-yard line, and they ran a sort of a sweep play, 3rd and 4. I think, was it with Pearson? Pearson, would have he been on that?
Yes, because he had a big game that day.
Someone made the wrong cut, I thought. I hate to be like 10-year day after quarterback, but someone made the wrong cut. Could have been a first down. Nebraska might have won, but that was a great game.
But now they meet a decade later, and USC has made a quarterback change. Nebraska said, you know what? Hold on here. They make a change with who the play caller is. When do you think we got to the point in Matt Rule's head that he had to do something to try and salvage the rest of this season, but also what happens down the road with current and future players?
I don't know if it was fully realized till the UCLA game. I think there was a chance to, let's say they had a successful 2-1 run between the byes. I don't know that we'd be. I really doubt we'd be where we are right now. Obviously, there was sort of a clunker of a second half with that game against Rutgers heading into the first bye. So maybe there were some concerns there, like I don't know that this is really humming along enough for some of these games ahead. We'll wait and see. But, I don't want to try to get in someone's head, but I would guess based off the results, the team was in position against Ohio State to pull off a great win there. And there were some plays left on the table. You could criticize some calls here and there, but there were also some plays that were there to be made that weren't. So I would, if I had to give an answer on the spot, UCLA probably. I think it was last week for sure when it cemented it, but stuff like that is probably always spinning in the guy's head. Is this as good as it needs to be? I thought one of the telling remarks yesterday was when he was talking about, I've always had really good defenses. We've heard him say this before, but some of his offenses, it's kind of been in the middle, and maybe there's been an acceptance like you can win with that formula. And I wonder if there's a shift in that thinking. Like you can't just be top 15 defense and 60th ranked offense. It's got to be, to win in this league, top 15 defense and 30th ranked offense, something like that. I don't know, but I'm not, maybe that's a leap there, but he had a comment or two which made me wonder if he was kind of tilting that way now.
I know there's going to be a lot of, hey, what to expect on Saturday and who the quarterback is going to be as well.
Exactly.
Because it could look very, very different depending on who's under center. But I've said this for a while, even before Dana Holgorsen came in. I believe I've said this to you as far as the element of tempo or the element of just a sense of urgency. You bring up the UCLA game where you're down 2 scores and there's zero sense of urgency. At the very least, if we're thinking of things to expect out of Dana Holgorsen and a guy that has that, quote, aggressive, end quote, mindset offensively, that aggressive could translate into at least a sense of urgency to at least see a lot more snaps, a lot more opportunity to push that tempo?
I think that's possible. That was what was most frustrating to me about the UCLA game. I understood you want to get the right plays and you have to deliver in that moment. Sometimes you bring the play clock down to 5 because it's 3rd and 4 and you got to have it. It's got to be the right play. If you don't get it, you're going to lose. But it felt like the whole delivery, like from the late third quarter to the end, didn't have the pace like you would expect when you're behind like that. And I think you could bring in tempo a little bit more, not just when you're behind, but earlier in the game. Right. And I think sometimes that sparks your quarterback. You guys have seen this a lot with, a team might be scuffling on offense, and then suddenly a quarterback gets like in a 2-minute drill or something, and it sort of works for them, right? Because they're just going. It's just all reaction, and you kind of get a guy in a rhythm that way. And we just haven't seen a lot of that with this offense. So I do wonder if pace of play and, not always going fast, but changing the gears a little bit at times could be part of the equation. That's an interesting point.
So we've all kind of like dove into, okay, what will Nebraska look different? What will they, I'm thinking of Holgorsen having to get to know actual names of players first, because I know that they're kind of on numbers before he puts number and name together. But he'll be fine on Saturday. Do you think that maybe for Saturday, next week might be a different story, but where we'll see a difference might be certain down and distance play choice, and then even more so BC, because I think this is a acquired skill set that Marcus Satterfield did not have, and that is in-game adjustment and a feel of the game. Do you think those are two things that we might see sooner than any, hey, that looks like a different run play?
Yeah, that's what you're hoping. I think there's certain scenarios where maybe he'll have a few things that pet plays or something that he feels like can work with the personnel they have. What you're talking about, like maybe a 3rd and 4 situation, I think maybe it translates to the red zone, you hope, too. Like you're going to be, you hope, in some games that are really tight fit type deals, and you've got to maximize those trips inside the 15-yard line. and it's felt sometimes battle to get through the force field down there. And so maybe there's some things that he can offer there. I don't. I mean, it's a tough assignment he has, though, too. Like this week, you're taking it on with the uncertainty about the quarterback spot. So, I mean, we'll see who starts first off. You've still got Iowa, and I know Iowa's stinging a little bit after what happened last Friday, but I mean, they've got to always have a solid defense, and it's hard to get anything explosive against them unless you have Trey Palmer. And so, I mean, this is a tough assignment for a guy to walk in cold, with new personnel. And so I would caution people without just giving Dana Holgorsen an out here. I mean, this is a very tricky deal to get this thing humming right now. You can't obviously overhaul everything. And so, but yeah, there's a few things here and there where you hope you see sort of the genius of a play caller who I do think is one of the better offensive minds in college football. I think he's kind of proven that out over 15 to 20 years. And there's going to be spots where his feel for something that goes back to something he experienced as a play caller in a game in 2014 can come in useful, and I'm interested to see what he does with the run game too. Like what if he finds some avenues there to explore with the guys he has, because that was one of the things Rule pointed out yesterday of being impressed with him when they competed against each other in the Big 12 was when Holgorsen went down to West Virginia and you get some cold climate games, and he had a willingness and an ability to run the ball and not just be this, sometimes there's this perception that that's not part of the air raid or whatever Holgorsen's running, but he showed that is a part of it. So we talked to a guy on our site, and Schaefer wrote the story. It's a good one, who covered West Virginia, covers them still. And he said Dana's very good at adjusting to the personnel in front of him. He's not just it's not like a one-trick pony here. He wouldn't be as successful as a coordinator as he's been if he were that. So he will be able to flip some things that maybe he's done in the past to fit what certain guys on this roster do. But how much he can do of that in 3 weeks, that's a real tall mountain, but it'll be fun. I mean, this is interesting. We got it is. It's like kept the beach ball up in the air. Like before down, and now it's like, okay, all right, let's see what happens now.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And kind of along the lines you talked about as far as being able to identify and adjust and adapt, there's that belief once he's 100% healthy that this is really going to benefit Dylan Raiola. Other than Dylan Raiola, when you think of Dana Holgorsen's track record and the personnel that he currently has, is there a name or two or even a position group that you think this benefits quite significantly?
I'm interested with the wide receivers, what happens there. Ja'Cory Barney, I'm sure, like, if Holgorsen's watching the first 9 weeks and he's looking at the toys on the shelf, you'd be like a kid reaching for Ja'Cory Barney. That'd be your first toy, right? I mean,
Tavon Austin.
I would think that is someone he's really going to want to highlight. I mean, I bet Carter Nelson is of intrigue to him, like how much you can add to what he's doing, but just a skill set like that where you can put it all over the field. There's some guys like that I think that they probably pop to mind. And like I said, the run game aspect is as interesting to me as anything. So I'm curious, like with the run game, like who, is Dell sort of the lead guy to finish this thing off, and what does that look like? What are the signature plays that they sort of rely on these last 3 games? But Barney's the one that comes to my mind. Maybe Fedoni too. Like, that's a guy I think you could probably accentuate more. So that could be a name.
Hey, why? And this is a little bit of a leading question, and I'm going to add that they have had some injuries back there. But why hasn't the defensive backfield been like the number one thing that maybe we thought coming into this year could be the strength of this team? Is it all injuries?
Yeah. I mean, it's played a part, but I know what you're saying. You kind of hope that was just going to be the lockdown part of this defense. Maybe, the D-line, and then we're sort of supposed to compete for who was 1A, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's emerged. There's some guys who probably have another level of football that they can reach, like Giff, like so you hope that the final few games that comes out as they try to get to a bowl game and they finish off their Husker careers. The bright spot has been, of course, Sierra Wright, and that's encouraging as a guy that, you hope can be in this program a couple more years. I don't say that ominously. I just say that because we live in the portal era and I'm realistic about everything. But, Sierra Wright gives you hope that he can just finish off strong and build in the next season. But, yeah, I do think injuries are a piece of it, but it just hasn't quite been as ratcheted down as you hope. And I don't know quite what the answer is and why that's been, but it is a little disappointing. And if you really go back to it, Nebraska had 2 games where they made sort of tough decisions on who to put out there first at cornerback. Tommy Hill against Illinois, and maybe the injury wasn't fully realized, but they paid a price for a touchdown there. And then Jeremiah Charles was going to grow into a great player, good player, but had a tough series on the opener against UCLA. They picked on him, and they had to bring Tommy in for him. And you think about how those games played out, 2 series to begin, where sort of who you had at that one corner spot, I felt like set a tone that really hurt in the end run of both those games in the final result. So that's a big part of the story of this season.
As much as we're intrigued by what we see offensively on Saturday as well, we know no media availability today. Makes sense. Tony White will be on the network tomorrow night, but a large part of this whole week is going to be strictly Matt Rule. What do you imagine, because they got their own things going on over there, USC in preparation for what to expect from Nebraska and what yesterday's announcement has now done to that preparation?
Yeah, that's an interesting part of the chess game there. I mean, that definitely has sent some grad assistants and others like searching at Houston Cougars film, probably from a couple years ago and stuff like that. And so a big part of this will be like when Nebraska comes out with its script, its first 10 to 15 plays or whatever, that'll be a really interesting segment of the game. Can Nebraska really make some hay there with maybe some stuff that USC is completely not expecting or is going to really have to adjust to in game? And so you hope Nebraska, you always say, says Captain Obvious, you want to get off to a strong start, but especially in this case, you'd like to see USC's head spinning a little bit, and maybe there's that's connected somewhat to, hey, they've had to go searching through game film from a couple different coaching stops maybe this week and aren't sure exactly what they're going to see. So again, I don't know how much different you can do, but there could be like 3 to 5 plays within your initial script that are certainly a Holgerson twist, because they've had time to work on them for 2 weeks, that USC is going to have to figure out. But again, Nebraska's got to make those plays when they're there. They might have a nice little something they've worked up, on Tuesday today, but if the play is there, you got to complete that pass. You got to have it beat 18 yards and not fall down and all that stuff. So this has to go all the way around in the operation for Nebraska to have success.
How do you think this game is going to start? Because Nebraska has a tendency when they're counted out, they show up. Like, okay, people are doubting you. They'll hang and bang with you. Rule yesterday said, I hope guys are PO'd. You blend that with a program that when you count them out, it seems like they show up in a game like this where, I mean, they're a touchdown and a field goal underdog. How do you think this game will start? Because it's a weird, what Nebraska has their issues. They're walking into a road game 2 time zones away. USC may be playing before a lot more Husker red than USC red. They just made a quarterback change. They're desperate. They need 2 wins in 3 games. How do you think this game's going to start?
I think so much of it, like, it feels like Nebraska sort of goes as the D-line does. Like, if Nebraska's D-line comes out, and you'll be able to know the series in.
I'm right there.
Like, like Ohio State, you knew, like, okay, Buckeyes are going to have some trouble today because they can't block Ty Robinson, and like MJ Sherman is a problem for him. And so I think you'll know within the first, honestly, 8 to 10 plays that USC runs, does Nebraska have a handle up front on them? And I'm not saying USC is not going to get some stuff with their explosives around that. They will at points, but they're going to have to really to chip for it. So that to me is to your question. That's the best I can answer. It's Nebraska's D-line. Can they be the dominant force where they're sort of a bully early on?
Yeah.
And if they are, buckle up for 60 minutes because I think that's what it'll be. And as far as being PO'd or whatever, they should be. Like, you only get 12 cracks at this. Like, every time you go out there is a precious deal. I mean, you got to value that. And you also got to think about, like, guys, if you go out there and you handle business at USC, no, not everybody in the country is going to tip their hat or give a big care about it. But it will sure matter back home, and it can really change things in a hurry. If you go play an inspiring 60 minutes and you won a game like that and got the bowl eligibility thing, I'm almost done talking about that until it happens. But you get that crossed off, and you have Wisconsin at home. Like, this is just embrace opportunity here. It's not over. This is a great chance to go out there and get something done for the program and for six-year seniors to really have a game where, that's one I'll remember when I'm 55 years old too. Like when we went to the Coliseum and got that done. Like that, you gotta love those opportunities as an athlete.
This was something that we were discussing earlier about Matt Rule and the offensive philosophy, essentially protecting the defense when it comes to trying to maximize your possessions and whatnot. And we talked earlier, BC, about maybe tempo, how maybe that does put your defense in a little bit more harm's way being on the field, because even if you're scoring, which would be ideal, that you're scoring quick, hey, you're going to take the points however you can get them. But is this one of the more least talked about parts of this hire, is how actually this could benefit the defense just by the weight of the world that this defense feels that it has? And I'm not saying this offense all of a sudden is going to put up 35 points, but if they show the ability that they can actually move the football and finish in the end zone more so than they were, if that could actually lead to more of a complete defensive effort.
Yeah, it's a good question, because I think right now the defense, I might not say it out loud, but there has to be a feeling like, man, if we have a B- game, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
And that's a tough way to live. Like, you should, especially the student I would have been rough stuff. Like, I need to be able to have a B paper sometimes, a lot of times, honestly, to get by. And I think it could free them up a little bit. So, like you said, you framed that question well, because it can't just necessarily happen overnight.
Right.
And I go back to the caution flag part about all of this, but Nebraska's averaging 18.3 per game in Big Ten play. I mean, that's just such a small margin for error. And then especially so if your offense which has gotten a little turnover prone, gives them 7 points,
right.
So I think your question is fair. And I do think you need to take a little bit of heat off that side of the ball, and we'll see how quickly they can do it, or if we have to wait in the next year for that. But again, like I say, I walked out of yesterday's press conference. I never get excited when someone loses their job. That part's always a tough part of this business. But there is a bounce in the step of, man, this is interesting. Like, you got a guy who is one of those known names as far as in offensive circles in college football, and he's leading Nebraska's offense now off the bench, flying in a week ago. And he's going to USC for his first game. I mean, it's a pretty good storyline, really.
It makes it very interesting for the next 3 games. BC, safe travels out to L.A. As always. Appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
That's Brian Christopherson. 3 o'clock kick. Big Red Overreaction, by the way, will only be on the Zone.
Yes.
Creighton basketball has kicked us off 101.9 The Keg.
Thought it should be the other way around.
I believe that Big Red Overreaction should have the bigger stick.
I did too. It's going to be a very interesting Big Red Overreaction.
Who's Creighton even playing?
Kansas City, I believe.
Yes, UMKC.
I mean, if it was the Chiefs, I'd understand.
Who hung in there for the first half with Iowa State last night, but then Iowa State, that's a Final Four team. They are relentless.
Mm-hmm.
Curtis Jones had a big night, and they ended up blowing out Kansas City, who even I agree, is the preseason favorite in the Summit League.
But not by like a runaway, right? They're not like the old South Dakota States where you're like, ooh.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. The game was a runaway last night.
Yes,
Iowa
yes.
State beat them by 26.
Yeah.
Omaha plays at Iowa State on the 15th of December.
Magical.
Transitive property. But
see how Omaha fares.
But Kansas City Creighton will be a good matchup because Kansas City is very physical.
Okay.
Like they will have some physical guards, but they don't have. I mean, there's other areas which they would be in deficit against Creighton. But Creighton, the Creighton game will be over on 101.9 and Keg. The Big Red Overreaction show will be on the home of the Huskers, 1620 The Zone.
Is that official?
I don't see anything wrong with what was said.
So we get to hear Tony White tomorrow night.
That's
you can always hear it.
That's you. That's you. Still to come, Andy. Did I say that wrong?
You said home of the Huskers.
No, not home of the Huskers.
No. What? Did you say what wrong? Yeah.
I said Big Red Overreaction is on 1620, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Twice.
Creighton is on Keg, yeah.
I just said the Big Red Overreaction should get the bigger stick.
Yeah, which would be the Keg.
Yes. For people who don't know, the Keg reaches a long way.
It does.
It reaches into Lincoln.
We get emails from people in Finland who can hear the Keg.
On a clear night.
We get complaints from people that live at 49th and
Yeah,
Dodge.
they
that
can't hear us.
can't hear the zone.
Yeah, is your guys' tower off?
All right. So just be aware of that if you're trying to listen on the Keg.
Yeah.
You know, number still works, 402-951-1620.
It does.
It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, tickets go on sale for the hottest event in town, Blue Collar Boxing 2024 at Bax Arena on Wednesday, November 27th. Local union members will face off in the boxing ring for charity, with proceeds benefiting the Nebraska Center for Workforce Development and Education and the United Way of the Midlands. The atmosphere will be electric, the energy will be high, and the arena will be rocking. Don't miss out. Head over to 1620thezone.com and check out the contest for a chance to win your way into the event.
All right, Andy Kenny from KTV. We'll bring him out in just a little bit. Do you guys think, because it is a night of the between the two Champions Classic games, the next bracket will be released? Oregon is in, right?
Yep.
Ohio State is in.
Mm-hmm.
Is Indiana already in?
I think they are, unless they lost to Purdue, which won't happen.
Would a one-loss Indiana be knocked out by a two-loss SEC team that has a better strength of schedule?
Yes.
Yes, given the network that the playoff is in.
Whoa.
I just think they will with a better resume with 2 losses. I feel like there is going to be more emphasis on quality wins. And the best win right now for Indiana, would we say, is Washington? I mean, and the fact that we have to think about this is, if they obviously, Ohio State is a major opportunity in 2 weeks, but if that's your biggest game and you lose it, now there could be, if it's a close game, that could be something. Game control. That could be something.
I don't know. Is Indiana's best win Nebraska?
I bet if you asked,
eye-turning.
I bet if you asked 3 committee members, you would get, or 2 committee members, you'd get 2 different answers. I don't think everybody would be sold on that Nebraska is. I think it's a combination of either Nebraska or Washington.
Okay.
But the Michigan one should have been better than it is, given Michigan's season now. That's not going to have a lot of meat on that bone. So yeah, going back to your original question, if there is a SEC team, say like a Georgia SEC team that has, you can point to a couple of wins.
Do you think Georgia will be in the 12 today?
I feel like they will be. I have a tough time feeling like they're going to completely drop out. But I think that's also going to tell you a lot of where this committee is, because I got to pull up the old Georgia resume here. But so if you look at Georgia right now,
by the way, there's something's amiss in Athens between the hedges. Like, this is a huge Saturday night in Knoxville for Kirby Smart.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's an elimination game.
Yep.
But you would have Georgia. Georgia wasn't in the playoff last year.
Right.
Georgia wouldn't be in the playoff this year. They just won back-to-back national titles.
Well, and last year's one thing when you get 4, but 12 teams now, that should be well within your wheelhouse if you're Kirby Smart right now. So, yeah, okay, now I want to look at
But their schedule and who they've lost to is better than...
Yes. And going on the road and beating Texas, that's a huge win right there. And then you lose, mind you, to an Alabama team where you were down big, pushed to the very end, almost came all the way back and won that game. The Ole Miss one was a little bit more choppy, but even in the one loss and then probably the biggest win, I think there's way more, I'll say it again, way more meat on that bone than Indiana if they were to lose to Ohio State. And then you have a couple of nice wins, but nothing that's a marquee win.
I think the kid might look and go, you know what, that's a great story at IU. Win or lose. Now, if they win, a different story, because then, I mean, hell, they could be going head-to-head with Oregon.
Yeah.
And you might be going, Indiana 2-seed?
Mm-hmm.
But I think as long as, like, today, after all the pushback that the committee got about Indiana's position last week, if they're 7 or 8, I think they're pretty secure. But I think this might be one team where, they don't have the logo on the side of the helmet, but they're a great story.
Yeah.
And I think if you watch football, that's a good football team.
Mm-hmm.
That if you stack them up against the other 12, 15 teams.
Yep.
Indiana has a place inside of the 12.
I agree.
So as long as they're 7-8 today, I don't worry about it. But if they're a one-loss team and that one loss would come, then you'd play Purdue and then you'd have a week off because of the championship game. You never know what's going to happen.
Right.
You can only control what you control. That's what a wise man on the street once told me that.
And then if an SEC team, depending on how the SEC championship game, we're talking about Georgia here for just a moment. But Georgia, if they were a 2-loss team, they would now have wins over Texas and Tennessee. So that would, in my opinion, be a stronger resume than if the Indiana season played out to where their only loss was to Ohio State. You would still look at 2 very good wins for Georgia and one loss that was pretty damn close and another one that you kind of ran into a buzzsaw there. Whoever would lose the SEC championship game would a 2-loss, if that knocked them down to 2 losses, would that also be still more favorable than Indiana? Indiana is going to be a very interesting, if they lose to Ohio State, Indiana is going to be a very interesting situation if we run into a couple of those SEC teams. That's what I am really curious, because I still want to believe that they're going to value the amount of wins, and depending on the loss, and this is where, okay, how do you lose to Ohio State if you lose to Ohio State? Do you just get freaking blown out, which I don't see happening? Because I'm with you, Gary. I think they're a good team. I think that's an Indiana team that is going to go toe-to-toe with Ohio State. But if they were to get their doors blown off, is that the old, there's the other shoe falling for Indiana? They are who we thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an unfair way to look at them, but that has crossed my mind of how Indiana will be treated. I still think 75% chance if it plays out the way that it's projected to, that they lose to Ohio State, but they went out. I'd say 75% chance that they still make it into the college football playoffs.
So you could have the top 4 announced tonight and only have 2 of the top 4 that have beaten a ranked team.
But
Oregon.
Yep.
And then BYU beat K-State.
Yep.
Because Texas and Miami have not beaten.
Right.
Now,
and Miami's a freaking roller coaster.
And I'm saying 4 in the bracket because of the ACC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Miami is... Well, I don't even know what Miami is. Miami's good offensively. They have 0 defense. They're an absolute roller coaster.
But they cost their league a chance at 2 teams.
Yep.
All right. Andy Kendi, who works for a network, not for, but at a network that will have the playoff. He's got thoughts. He's also in our top 5 in power ratings of Nebraska media that ask questions on Mondays with Matt.
And I think he even shines more so post-game than on Monday press conferences.
He's got to do that live shot in the end zone,
Yep.
and people are throwing stuff at him.
Mhm.
Yeah. Man, you got to be tough.
Thick skin.
It's mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. All right, back on the road. We get to live vicariously through Andy Kennedy and the KTV crew. Headed out to Los Angeles as we speak. They are actually driving.
In the Winnebago.
Hey, you remember when Cosmo Kramer
Yeah.
drove across the country?
Yes, he did.
That's what they're doing at KTV.
Going to L.A. Now we're going to see Andy Kennedy doing some guest spots on TV shows.
Hey,
Maybe Murphy Brown.
Hey, can you stop in Denver and do a story on Trey Alexander?
There you go.
Boys, don't give my news director any ideas.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. First of all, props to the bump in music, Violent Femmes, Waukesha, Wisconsin's proud.
Nice.
Yes, they were fantastic.
Nice. I got you,
That was
Andy.
a big staple back growing up. So yeah, no, LA is this weekend. Boys, this is the final stadium of the Big Ten that I've not covered a game in. I have covered practices at the Coliseum because this is where the Wisconsin Badgers held their practices during Rose Bowl weeks, multiple Rose Bowls. In fact, I got to interview. How about this for eclectic? In the Coliseum, I've interviewed Dan Fouts, I've interviewed Tommy Lasorda, and I've interviewed the Fonz. How about that for
The Fonz?
How about that?
Whoa.
The Fonz. So Arthur Fonzarelli, Henry Winkler, his daughter was attending Wisconsin at the time, got to come in, watch a practice, and he was, honest to God, the sweetest guy.
That's
what
everyone
the sweetest
says.
guy. Oh my God, the nicest guy. What do you need? Yeah, I'll talk about Wisconsin. Sure, he couldn't have been nicer.
Everyone says that about him. I listened to a podcast that he got interviewed on, and he sounded that way. And everybody talks about how he is just, again, the biggest sweetheart. And and now you're validating this for me, which is fantastic.
Well, the guy writes children's books now, right?
Yeah,
and,
he does.
Here's a step further. My wife was in a coffee shop in a town that he was doing a speech to promote one of his books. She said the same thing. Just said hello, wanted a quick picture with him, and she said he couldn't have been nicer. Couldn't have been a nicer fella. And I don't know. You know, it's funny because you grow up and you watch Arthur Fonzarelli and the two thumbs up and Mr.
cool guy.
Studley and whatever. And this guy couldn't be further from that character. He's just such a sweet guy. And he gave, it's interesting because in situations like that where you're out at a bowl practice, and it's been a while, obviously, but when you're out at a bowl practice, you kind of keep your head on a swivel and you say, what's different about this bowl practice? Because, there's so much X's and O's you can do. And when you see Henry Winkler, you're like, is that the Fonz?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to go up and say hello. And then sure enough, sure, I'll do a quick interview on camera. And it was great. Yeah. So you never know what you're going to find when we get to bowl practices. And hopefully we'll get to bowl practices this next month.
Could be going to Charlotte. Could be going to Nashville. I've seen two of those today. Ted wants to know, he goes, I don't think we're at the same show. He goes, but I saw the Violent Femmes in Andy's old stomping grounds. He goes, I saw him at Summerfest.
Oh, yeah. Summerfest is like, I tried to explain what College World Series is to folks. And you do a Brewers game or a Brewer Day game and go to Summerfest at night. It is fantastic. Great time.
Stop by and see the Laverne and Shirley Museum as well.
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
Shamil Shamazel. Yeah.
Well, we were all
House of
watching,
Gossip
and you were sitting in the front row yesterday. We were waiting for the gasp when Matt Rule announced that Dana Holgerson was going to call plays. What was, we all knew that Dana was going to be involved. Some may have thought, wow, could he be even more involved? But what was your reaction to what the news yesterday came out from the head coach?
I'll steal a line from Anchorman. Well, that escalated quickly.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, if you were to say that, we're getting ready for the UCLA game, we're chit-chatting at the table before the game, and you say, hey, in 10 days or whatever, 9 days, you're going to have a new offensive coordinator who's not even in the building at the time, I'd say you're crazy, right? my reaction was, okay, props to Matt Rule that he's willing to go out and do something outside the box. I have heard from Husker fans that are friends of mine that, obviously you guys get your texts from your buddies and pals, and some of it kind of towed the line with, is this panicking or is this a calculated, outstanding move? And I think the better word is urgency. And good on the head coach that he's willing to do something different. And quite honestly, guys, obviously we've been through 9 games. We've seen what the current setup was doing, and it wasn't getting any better. If anything, it was going backwards. So good on the head man for making a change and rolling the dice and seeing what happens. And he's confident that Dana Holgorsen can come in, not only identify the pieces that he wants to build stuff around, but I thought the biggest thing that came out of yesterday was just simplify stuff. I mean, the Huskers have been trying to do so many different things and trying to get so many different people involved, and it hasn't been working. So let's focus in on 2, 3, 4 things and do it real well, and hopefully that will kind of jumpstart this offense, because obviously they're going to have to score some points out west to beat USC, and it's going to be a big challenge because USC made a change at their quarterback position. So that's going to be an interesting matchup, no question.
And I don't know when we'll get this until maybe even after the game on Saturday. But I think the player reaction is going to be very interesting to follow. And Matt Rule said all the good things yesterday that so far, at least on the field, everything has been seamless. Does this also serve the move that Matt Rule made, though, as another version of what he did last Monday, and that's the accountability factor on not only the coaches, okay, you see me making my move, but also players, okay, I did my part, y'all need to do your part too.
No question. And I thought that was one of the big jump out sound bites yesterday. When you're taking notes, you star certain things. That's when you put an asterisk by, because it really is. At this point, the coaches are doing everything they can. It's now up to the players to start to make plays, whether it be making throws or catching throws or making blocks or making tackles. Now it's time it has been time, and now it's really time for these players to step up, because, the coaches can only do so much. And now, it's time for the players to take the next step. There's no question about that. And I actually appreciate the fact that Matt Rule is willing to say that. A lot of coaches wouldn't. For fear that they might lose the locker room. I think Matt Rule really realizes that his locker room is pretty solid, and I think that they can handle this. And it's another step of the whole new era of college football. This is a pro move right here, right? I mean, this is an NFL move to fire a coordinator, demote a coordinator, bring somebody in mid-season. I mean, you just don't hear about this in the college game, but it's win now. You got to get to a bowl game. You got to win one of these next 3, hopefully more than one. And good on Matt Rule for taking this next step. I thought it was a very professional approach. And you know what? Players get paid. It's time for them to make plays. Honestly, and there's been times in the past where I've been very hesitant to say, you know what? These are college kids. They're 18, 19, 20 years old. But now that conversation is a little different, fellas, is it not? Because these kids are making thousands and thousands and sometimes more than thousands of dollars. So, it's time for them to produce, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much of a conversation about this move do you think Troy Dannon was involved with? Maybe not saying, hey, you got to make a move, Matt, but maybe as a sounding board, because as you have seen and others have seen, they are together when the game ends. They walk off the field together. I mean, they're always in communication. You see Dannon show up on Mondays to, listen to what Matt has to say. How much of a role or a part or just being there to listen do you think Dannon had?
I think he was more of a sounding board than a director here in terms of pointing his finger in terms of which way to go, right? But I do think there was some consulting going on back and forth and some conversations, no doubt, because that's what you do with your boss. Obviously he's got to approve this move and carve out a salary, which we still don't know yet about what Dana's making, unless it's come out this morning. I didn't see it, but I think that he played a role. How big of a role? I would give my educated guess is that he was more of a sounding board, as in, hey, this is what you want to do, and this is what you really truly think that can fix this issue. obviously we know it's an issue. Go out and do it. You got my support. And I think that's what good athletic directors do. And, hey, good on these guys for taking a swing. That when that news broke, obviously it's big news around here, but when you start getting the national guys chiming in with their takes, that's an interesting deal. I mean, this caught the attention of college football, for at least a few minutes yesterday morning. And I think that just speaks to the boldness of the move. We just don't see this in college football often. And will it work? I don't know, but good on Matt Rule for doing something, because before, what he was doing before, what the team was doing before, was not working. And it's good that they're taking this path while there's time left. There's 3 games left, and hopefully that this team can get one, if not more, down the stretch here. Because if we've learned anything, looking at the rugby scrum, in the Big Ten with the 13 teams in between 6 and 4 wins, I mean, you can see that any week anything can happen. I mean, when you see Rutgers play like a different Rutgers team week in and week out, or UCLA go out and beat Nebraska and then at home against Iowa, that any of those teams in the scrum can beat any other. So, when I look at a 9-point spread or whatever it was, I just kind of take that with a grain of salt. Like, these teams are really, these 3 games down the stretch, you could make a case either way for a team winning or not winning.
Real quickly, Andy, you heard a lot of the narrative leading into last week, and if there were going to be changes made, that they wouldn't be made till after the season, if at all, because, he's too loyal to his boys. We heard that at times with Scott Frost too. Did yesterday's decision, and I know some people were, even with some of the press conferences, were, as Gary says, getting a little more sermon-like, that it's time to win. But did yesterday's move flip the narrative a little bit of, you've heard Matt Rule talk about he's going to do whatever he can for this program, and this program is something that he's working really, really hard to bring up to the level that people need to. Was yesterday a pretty strong example, in your opinion, of that, where that kind of tamps down that conversation about how you feel about Matt Rule's sales pitch, if you will?
Yeah, I do. I think he's in it to win it, and he's in it to win it right now. And he's the button pusher, and that was a pretty big button he just pushed.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows not only the staff, hey, I'm willing to take big swings and make big changes because the program is the top priority, and getting this program over the top is the top priority, taking friendships and sliding it aside. And, and Matt Rule made it very clear, not only yesterday, but last week, that it was not all on Marcus Satterfield. It was, the team, the players didn't make plays. And he mentioned yesterday that Mark Satterfield's a good man, and he's going to be well compensated to coach those tight ends these last 3 weeks. So I think it sends a message to not only his staff, but his players and the fan base, that this guy's willing to take big swings and do whatever it takes to get this team over the top. It's going to be a fascinating 3 weeks. Normally bye weeks, you kind of kick back, drink a couple pops, and watch some college football. Of course, this team is like a mini version of the Dallas Cowboys, right? There's never a dull moment, right? There's never a dull moment, win, lose, or draw.
Nope, not normal, and that's why we like covering it day in and day out.
Absolutely.
Hey, safe travels out to L.A. Looking forward to everything. Enjoy Southern California and what will be a really interesting football game at 3 o'clock on Saturday.
No doubt. In-N-Out Burgers on the menu on Friday.
Delicious.
All right, yeah, they got the one right there by LAX.
That's exactly right. You know that.
All right. Be good, my friend.
Thanks, boys.
Thought you were going to chime in and go, what a burger.
I was waiting to hear the overrated chant.
In-N-Out's fantastic. The fries suck, but the burger's fantastic.
In-N-Out's okay. I'll say it. It's
Fat
overrated.
burger, heard very good. Ice Cube told me.
I would take Whataburger every day of the week over In-N-Out.
Oh, I mean, I had it Saturday after the game. Whataburger in 7 games.
Yeah, I would take it in a clean sweep.
Ooh, I like how you think.
What? In-N-Out's fine.
I'm still trying to process Huskers and Cowboys together.
I wasn't like frothing to the mouth every time I would drive by In-N-Out after I had it once. I was like, well, then you'd see the line too. Like, yeah.
I do hate people.
And one by LAX where the planes fly right over you. That is a popular one. That one's busy all the time.
Does it taste better than the other ones?
A little bit.
It's a fine burger.
You got a little diesel in the burger.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
All right. Crossover's coming up next. We'll get closer to talking more about the team that Nebraska's playing.
No Coordinator Tuesday.
Plus, we got rankings tonight. We got 2 Champions Classics. We got basketball tomorrow. Both Nebraska and Creighton will be on display. So we'll have a lot for you on the Hump Day edition of Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy. That's coming up in 20 hours. Crossover's next on 1620 The Zone.